Alright, now we are streaming again.
Oh, wait, we weren't streaming before?
We were, but I still had it set up for when I was doing Fortnite, so it was like a Fortnite thumbnail and everything. I had to change it so it's appropriate for Zelda. So like someone sent me
Fortnite with misclick. Yeah. I'm not misclicked, dude.
Someone, well, okay, so we have 5J who streams on the channel sometimes, and he was streaming like a week ago, and it was after we had Holly. So, like, I never changed the thumbnail back, so it was still, like, Hylian Gamescast with Holly. And then people were like, why are you using a clickbait thumbnail of a girl that's not even on the video? And it's like, well, some of us are lazy, and we don't change our thumbnails.
Oops, we did have a video with her on it.
Yeah.
Several times.
I know, like, the thing was, like, one of the people, was like, why do you keep using the same girl in the thumbnail over and over for clickbait? And I'm like, we used it once for the video that she was on. Like, what's going on here?
It's just the assumption, the knee-jerk reaction, I think.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, every link I posted on social media has the Fortnite picture.
We are streaming now?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Alright, Gibbs, everybody in the chitty chat, tell me if you can hear myself, Daniel, and Axel fine. So talk, guys, see if they can hear you.
I am audible, you can hear me fine. This is not bad quality.
Alright.
You can hear me. That's good. You know, the worst thing is not being heard. That's the worst. When I lose my voice, it's actually torture for me. There's no worse fate I can think of than not being able to talk.
You've met with a terrible fate?
Have you ever been sealed in the Calamity?
No.
No.
You know what's great? I've got mini eggs. They're so delicious.
Well, you know what sucks? Like,
they're so good.
Well, it makes no sense at all to me.
What?
Nintendo always creates new worlds and new realms instead of, like, going back. So it's like there's the Silent Realm, Termina, Low Rule, the Dark... Like, Low Rule and Dark World were essentially the same... They were meant to be the same thing. Because A Link Between Worlds started out as A Link to the Past. And then instead of being like, hey, we're, like, reimagining A Link to the Past for this new 3DS game, let's... Instead of reusing the Dark World, let's keep it the exact same as it was in the Dark World, just change the name to Low Rule.
Excuse me, there was snow on the mountain this time.
Alright.
There was snow this time.
Podcast over, you guys.
Completely different.
Nothing else to say.
Completely different.
I think it just comes from them wanting to come up with like these worlds, not just necessarily to build the lore. They just want to have like a hyper-specific thing that fits the game and the story and the themes they're going with. So they have to come up with like new rules to suit their scenario every time. So they're like, yeah, let's just make a new one.
New rule.
Right.
That's it. So we got high rule, low rule, new rule. Will be the next one.
It works, guys.
Rock and roll.
The test recording went well. Can we promote everything on the Twitter and Discord really quick? And
then we ban all of us.
Oh.
Yeah, I was about to do that. It was just right. I actually did do that. It's just that we weren't live apparently.
Oh well, kinda.
Here, I'll just like.
Come watch us discuss the worst Zelda theories.
People love that stuff. People love it when we start talking about the worst Zelda theories because they love how upset we get.
Oh no, what happened? Alright, what is it? youtube.com/game over Jesse/live.
I'm just gonna keep my glasses on for this one so I can read the threads.
Axel.
But don't talk about me. I'm a secret.
Axel Davids. That's not the right Axel. Axel.
Wait,
No.
what?
That's Axel D. Wilder. I said he is more wild than I am. He's D. Wilder. I'm D for Daniel. He's Wilder.
Axel Daniel Wilder.
Yes. It all makes sense somewhere.
So I watched WrestleMania last night, and I had never been so disappointed while not being disappointed.
Explain.
Because I was disappointed by all of the outcomes, but then it's like none of it was a disappointment as in like, oh well, this sucks. It was just like in one of the matches, like the two people that were fighting were doing good. It was just the crowd was being horrible, like they were booing it when it wasn't something. Like they were booing because one of the people, his contract was supposed to be up, so they thought he was leaving, so they were booing because he wasn't going to be there anymore. And it turns out his contract wasn't up. He re-signed. He just didn't tell anyone. So it was going to be like a good surprise for everybody, but they still booed, which ruined it. Because when you hear like 70,000 people in the crowd saying, "This sucks, this sucks," then
yeah, I quit for real.
yeah, like the people doing the match are going to be like, well, if they're going to be booing, let's not give 110%. So
yeah.
People.
Hey, someone thumbed down us already.
Oh, that was.
We haven't even started, guys.
That was me.
Jesse.
Wait, was it actually?
No.
We haven't even
Come
started,
watch everyone we are with.
They should kill characters off in wrestling. It says losing.
Actually,
Limo.
not a bad idea.
And yeah, sure, man.
Well,
It's already like a soap opera, basically.
Yeah.
So.
I tagged
Yes.
Daniel twice on accident.
That's okay. There's more.
These people come watch.
I realized Kayla hasn't joined us.
Just
She
now?
said she has not joined us.
Did she send a message?
No. But she did say yesterday that she was going to be free.
Maybe something came up.
Womp womp.
Like in the same way that Axel was able to reschedule, maybe she had to reschedule, except it wasn't a good...
Karma vampirism.
Yeah. Did you guys see the thumbnail? Because it's kind of happy birthday-ish. Someone
I
sent...
enjoyed it.
I think someone sent that to me, and I saved it. So when I was looking for a thumbnail, I was like, this'll work. Like, he's holding a Tingle toy, and Tingle is a toy in Skyward Sword, so I guess it kind of works.
Perfect sense.
Zelda has a toy Tingle. Is it Zelda?
Yeah.
Or Link?
I think it's in Zelda.
Zelda. It's in Zelda's room.
Alright.
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword.
The most
I guess
deserving.
we should drop the bomb for everybody watching this stream right now. Yesterday was Jesse's birthday.
Oh, yeah. And
Hey, Jesse.
thank you guys. Yes, we are having...
Got him nothing.
Totally.
We got him this podcast.
Yeah. No, like in my head, you guys kind of wait. I think it was you, Daniel. You like kind of half made my birthday disappointment.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like.
Because I said Merry Birthmas.
No. I'm just joking. But in my head, I was thinking it's gonna be an awesome day. We're gonna do the podcast. I'm going to spend some time with the family, eat dinner, whatever, and then finish off the night by watching WrestleMania. But then it's like when the podcast wasn't going on, I was like, well, I guess I can spend the time planning the schedule for the podcast, so I'll be ready. Nope. I just wasted my time doing absolutely nothing. So.
Isn't that the best kind of birthday, though?
Yeah, that's what I did on my birthday last year. I just stayed home from work.
Yeah.
Sat on the couch, stayed in my pajamas all day.
And we are recording.
Woo!
So
every podcast should start just us going,
Josie sucks!
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everyone put your questions in the Hylian Gamescast.
Oh,
How
should open Discord.
How do you feel about that the podcast name, Axel? Hylian's Gamescast or Hylian Gamescast? Because I was thinking I wanted it to have something related to video games in the title, so people know it's a games video cast or whatever. And I wanted it to have something to do with Zelda, but wasn't like in your face. Like this is the Zelda talk show, which is very generic.
That would be worse.
So I wanted it something that a fan of Zelda would see and they would know it was Zelda, but someone
Yeah.
who's just a fan of gaming that may not know who Zelda is, maybe they wouldn't necessarily get it. So I went with Hylian.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And then for Gamescast, which is what people call podcasts, the Hunger Games. Like I wasn't trying to think of that, but I was thinking of something with games in the title, and I thought of the Hunger Games. So then I was like, well, instead of the Hunger Games, what if it was the Hylian's Games, or like the Hylian
makes
Games?
sense.
And then I was like the Hylian Games Cast. So it was like an amalgamation of a bunch of different things. Anyways, are we ready, you guys?
Yes.
All right.
I
Yeah.
guess
Nice.
we have no Kayla.
All right.
I will disown her later.
Start us off, Daniel.
Oh, me?
No, start us off, Axel.
Okay.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome to the Hylian Gamescast. I'm new here. I don't know what I'm doing. These guys put me on the spot. We talk about not always Zelda, but a lot of that, and then video games and stuff. And here we go.
Yep.
Woo! Good.
All right.
Let's all do an intro. All right.
Oh my gosh, my mouse.
In a world where podcasts run rampant,
Oh yeah.
one podcast
In a world where there
Talks
is
about
no
Zelda.
quality standards.
in a free internet market
Oh
where
man,
podcasts
sexy
run
sock.
amok. I know, I have a sock over my microphone to help.
Going to
Echo
harass you with my
reduction.
question again. If you could introduce, if you type in a question right now, we won't see it by the time the mailbag comes around.
Yes.
So you need to go to the Discord and leave the question there and tag us, either Axel, Daniel, or myself. Or you can wait until the mailbag starts, and we end the mailbag with taking question from the chat. But we have to get started because we have about 2 hours left. Less than.
Put a link to the Discord if you're not in there already. Mr. Lucy.
Yeah, Hylexis. Discord. Put it in the Discord. Because your question will be like, we won't be able to see it whenever.
It'll get buried by the time we're
Yeah. Or you can be super nice and give us a super chat for like $1, and then your question will get guaranteed. Anyways, are we ready? Axel? Daniel?
I did the intro.
Alright.
We're going.
Oh, let me get in my
We're going.
time machine here. Alright. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as some of you all may know me, and here with me for the Hylian Gamescast episode 20-something, 25, 26, for April 9th, 2018, is for the first time being here as a single guest, but he's been here twice, is Axel.
He's a single guest.
Yeah. He has been here with
I'm gonna have
Matt
to rub it in.
and who was the guest on the last one with you?
Mandy.
Mandy.
Mandy. So you were here
Mandy
with
Lee.
Matt and Mandy, but he's here alone this time. And joining us, as always, is Danielle.
That's all I got.
Sweet intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
Tight.
hi everybody.
Do a little
You're
dance.
zazzing me. What the heck?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not too late.
You're right.
More
I have
pizzazz.
to zazz it up this mailbag.
Yeah. So this is the Hylian Gamescast, our gaming Zelda news, not news, discussion-based something. We do something here. I'm not quite sure what it is.
It's a
Gamescast, Jesse.
Oh right.
Yeah. Today we will be discussing the weirdest list of Zelda theories that we were able to find.
I feel like weirdest is really generous.
Yeah, we're going to be going through and basically reviewing. And we usually put together a lot of lists and stuff for the podcast, and we go through, talk about them. But this time, I was thinking, since we've already done Zelda theories, let's pick someone else's list, go through that, and see what kind of job they have done. Because there's a lot of people that just copy and paste stuff from the internet or like completely make up their own random stuff. As you'll see, there are some pretty hilarious non-theories in here. I call them non-theories because they're not even theories. It's just like, hey, do you guys think the Koroks and the Kakiri are related? I got a hunch, man.
Oh, are we allowed to talk about ones that aren't on the list?
We can. Like, we can end it with the most disturbing, horrible theory if we want. All right.
Let's get the suspense.
So if you would like to support the podcast, you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse as Megan, Neil, Casey Willis, Rusty Caulfield, Link Use the Triforce, Tight-Lipped Gaming, Robbie Morgan, Shadow to Us, Lovable Christie, Daniel's Favorite, Key of Time, 15, Lunarium, Michelle, Ashley, Monica, Justin, and the One Have.
The what?
Which one?
Where? The one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that one.
He actually has his own YouTube channel. But anyways, you can head over to Patreon to support the channel, where you can get your questions guaranteed to be featured on the show, or your discussion topics, which is kind of where the discussion for today's podcast comes from, because so many people said that they joined the Discord or became a fan of the podcast because of that theory discussion that we did before about the 3 worst Zelda theories of all time.
What, the top 3?
Yeah.
How can you narrow it down?
We each just picked our own worst. So
Oh, yeah, okay.
so my worst, Daniel's worst. I think maybe Holly was in the video.
No, we did
no.
Our favorite ones with Holly.
Okay, so that was the week after.
Someone else who did our worst ones.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, starting off our podcast is our first piece of news, maybe our only real piece of news for the podcast. Nintendo, of all people, leaked an unannounced Spyro Reignited trilogy, which honestly, this is something it was rumored to release for the Switch before it was even confirmed to be real.
Right.
So, like, before it was even announced, like a week ago, people just assumed. Like, I think as soon as Crash, as soon as Crash released, everybody was like, oh, well, that's a success. They have to do, like, all of these other crazy 3D platformers now. So, Spyro was, like, as huge as Skylanders was.
Yeah.
A return to Spyro seemed imminent. So, Nintendo of UK of all people, just like really they dropped the ball. Maybe this was something planned for E3. Maybe it was just. I honestly think there was an actual strategy to this leak. I think people at Nintendo were like, okay, everyone. Like, half the people probably already assume this will come to Nintendo Switch, as Crash was confirmed to come to Switch, and the other half probably would like it to come to Switch, but don't know for sure. So they'll end up buying it on the PlayStation 4, PC, or whatever. So what Nintendo did is, for the people who want to buy this on Switch, but don't know if it's going to come to the Nintendo Switch, and they're going to be spending their money on PlayStation or whatever, let's purposefully leak this out for like 10 minutes. That way all the people that would be buying it for PlayStation but would rather buy it for Nintendo save their money and hold off until it releases for Switch. Because for me, I would love to buy it on the Nintendo Switch, but if I didn't know for sure if it was coming to the Switch or not, I would buy it for the PlayStation 4.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense what Nintendo's doing, is like, okay, let's let these people know that yes, it is coming to the Nintendo Switch. That way they'll wait until we have it to buy it. So that's my strategy on this. It was all just a big conspiracy from Nintendo. It's like, hey, like, who cares?
The Nintendo ninjas are gonna come back and
Yeah, they're like,
stream again.
if Activision, I believe, is the one who is in charge of Spyro.
I don't remember.
I think it's
Activision?
Insomniac.
Yeah.
Insomniac's the developer, but
Yeah.
Activision's the publisher, right?
I don't know.
Alright. Because I think like Skylanders
Look it
and
up.
everything is Activision. Because they have like Call of Duty, Spyro, all of that stuff. I could be misinformed. But anyways, Axel, our man on the scene, is doing some very, very investigative journalism.
RPG in the chat says yes, it's Activision.
All right, thank you,
All right,
RPG.
RPG. Thank you. We don't need Axel anymore. He's fired.
All right, yeah.
He
So
is obsolete.
yeah, so that's basically just my conspiracy is that Nintendo's like, hey, people want to buy this for Switch, but they're not going to because it's not announced yet. So let's just leak it. And honestly, like, I know companies sometimes like if it is in the contract that like something can't be announced until a certain time, they're fined. But like even if it was like $50,000, which would be the fine for leaking or however much it is, which $50,000 is a lot. But for Nintendo, that's just like, oops, we accidentally did this. And then all the people that would be buying the game on the Switch, like the cost would make up the money from whatever the fine would be from them leaking it.
Yeah, well, that also assumes that if it was a planned leak, that it wasn't like an actually fully across the board planned leak. Whenever all parties might have been involved.
Yeah.
I don't know if that really would it would be the best way to drive people to pick up the Switch because they could just announce the game. But at the same time, what it does do is it creates like a double hype thing where it's like, well, it's rumored, maybe it'd be cool. Wait, it's been leaked? Oh, that's really cool. And it's been announced. Kind of situation.
Yeah,
What it does is it has the people that are maybe not driving Switch sales, but people that already have a Switch that don't have another console.
Good point.
That retains the market there. They're not going to go to the other console to get those games, right?
And it prevents
What?
them from buying the other console.
Exactly. Because it keeps happening to me. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to get a PlayStation 4. And every time I want a game that's on
The rent
PS4,
thing?
Yeah.
it ends
For
up
what?
coming to Switch. And I'm like, I'll just hold off. It keeps working. Whatever they're doing.
all right.
Quick, Jesse can't hear us make fun of him.
Jesse.
Hey guys, I'll be back in like 2 seconds.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Sure.
I
Just one time, Jesse told me that he said it was the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to him. He said that his hair caught on fire while he was streaming, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to cause a scene or anything, so he just kept playing the game. He just kept streaming normally. and that-
What?
yeah, and his hair just was on fire. It burnt off. He was bald for 2 weeks, but then he was able to grow it back quickly. So, it's a
Are
true
you-
story.
Are you messing with me?
It really happened.
It
while he
doesn't
was
sound
streaming.
real at all.
Just suddenly, just whoosh, fire everywhere.
Chat, is he messing with me?
It really happened.
I'm asking.
Just fire.
Chat about this.
The
I need
whole house caught
No,
on fire.
I don't believe you. I don't trust you.
It's the most embarrassing thing he said to me. Don't tell anyone. I don't think anyone watching the stream even noticed. They were just watching the game. Just keep it under your hat. Don't tell anybody. So, but he just sat there. He's like, and his hair just flowed back out perfectly.
Okay, yeah, now he's messing with me.
Just came back out. So Axel, I keep wanting to say Alex. Ah!
Oh, it does that to me.
I'm so sorry. What's your most embarrassing story about Jesse?
I don't think I have one.
No, it's your most embarrassing 100% real story that happened to Jesse.
Right. Okay. So, at one time, when we were working together on Zelda Dungeon, he took like a big dump, and he took a photo of it and made like a news post of it, but he was like real drunk. And I deleted it for him. No, I had his back. And he told me to he asked me to never tell anyone about it.
That's intense. Jesse needs to lay off the sauce, though. That's all I gotta say. That man has a problem. It's funny because he streamed himself taking a dump once too. And I was a mod in that. Thankfully, I shut the stream down quickly before anything bad could happen.
Was he drunk?
Oh, he was wasted.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The only other time I've seen him do like weird exhibitionism stuff with taking a dump was when he like had pancakes for the first time. I mean, you know how it is.
Oh,
the Canadian thing.
Pancakes, man.
Yeah, the maple syrup, and you just go nuts.
Yeah.
So.
It's not even just the pancakes. You can put them everywhere. Just put maple syrup all over the plate, and then the table, and then just like start lathering it on yourself.
And then make sure you lick it off everything.
Yeah.
You can't waste any of it.
No. That's wasteful.
Yeah.
It's bad. Don't do that, guys.
RPG is talking about crepes.
Crepes are actually great, but I always like savory crepes better.
I've never had one.
There's this place downtown Vancouver.
Everyone is recommending me crepe places.
Dude, you have to get crepes. See if there's like there's this place, Cafe Crepe, that I go to sometimes. It's very overpriced, but the crepes are delicious.
That's why they overprice it.
Yes, because they know they can.
They can get away with it.
And they make it fresh on the spot. They pour that dough out on the thing, and then they've got this little spinny thing that makes a perfect crepe.
See, I can't trust you anymore.
No, see, that part's legitimate. This is a real restaurant. I wonder how many people believe these poop stories. How many subscribers will Jesse lose?
Or gain?
Someone said in the chat, crepes equal inferior pancakes.
Well,
you can have both. That's all I'm saying. It's like a mood-dependent thing. But crepes are more versatile. Pancakes, what are you going to have with pancakes? Blueberries, chocolate chips, maple syrup. Sure. Okay, sweet stuff, right? Crepes, you can go sweet or savory.
Theoretically, you could probably do a savory pancake. You just have to totally rethink the recipe.
Can't. I tried once and it just caught on fire. I put just fire.
He's lying. He's lying.
No, it really happened. My whole house burned down.
The whole thing.
Move.
Move from what? Your whole house burned down.
Yeah, I had to move to a new house. It just burned down. I didn't get a shred of my damage deposit back.
You didn't move out. You moved in. Skip
It should
part
be our
A.
whole podcast.
Skip part A. Go straight to part B. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Oh, I could have used that $200 since I didn't get my damage deposit back for burning down my house.
Yeah. Well.
Time to chill in the chat says the Hylian Crepes cast. That's gonna.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it'll go on my website next to my cheeseburger reviews.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that was a joke. It was like taking a second. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not even going to trust you for the rest of this thing. It's just going to be like, okay, Daniel's full of crap.
I just start making stuff up when Jesse's not here.
We could just start. What we should do is we should just start saying like random facts about ourselves as soon as Jesse gets back throughout the podcast that aren't true. Yeah. And have like a signal that Jesse won't know. I'll be like this, and you can do it too, like in the corner of your camera.
Well, I can't see the. Hold on, I have to enlarge.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
There we go. The Skype cuts that part of it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here, I'll just like tap. Like I can just tap here for a second, and that'll be our signal that we're lying, and then we can just confuse Jesse.
There you go. He'll never know because he never edits this. So
well, no.
I'll just do a fake sneeze like this. And that's how you'll know. That'll be our secret signal.
It'll be a post-edit thing. It'll be great. It'll be like a double take. First, he'll hear us say these things. He's like, "What kind of people do I have on this podcast?" And then when he ends, he'll be like, "Oh, you smart little."
Oh, I'm surprised he's not back yet. I think he died.
He might have.
I
knew one time that Jesse died. It was in the summer of 1892.
Good year.
Yeah. He's smiling. I feel like he's been listening the whole time.
Have you been listening this whole time?
No, so...
Oh, he's muted. Jesse, we can't hear you.
So, you know how my laptop messed up and I had to rent a new one or whatever from the place because I didn't have the money to pay like $1,000 for a new laptop? So the people... Huh?
Just fire everywhere.
Oh.
Just your old laptop just...
Yeah. So the people from the store, American Rental, whatever it's called, showed up because they thought I was late on my payment, for like the monthly payment, but I wasn't.
Oh.
So after I talked, I had to go talk to them, and then after I talked to them, they looked at it and was like, "Oh, well, this date isn't right." So then, yeah.
Good job, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, like at first I thought I was in trouble or something, and then it turned out like it wasn't even, like it was just a mistake on their part, so hooray!
They come to your house and interrupt your podcast.
Yeah!
Tell them that you're trying to do, like, this. They're cutting into your business hours, and they owe you $100 for doing that, because time is money. You know?
Okay, here's the crazy thing is, I don't even have a phone call from them saying, "Hey, like you need to come do this."
Door?
Yeah,
That's genuinely strange.
It's genuinely concerning.
One time I had like a bunch of like men in black basically come to my house and they were gonna arrest me basically, but
it's like we're here for the plutonium.
Yeah, but it wasn't me. It was like a guy who had lived in the house like 10 years ago. It's like honestly the strangest thing that's ever happened to me.
They made a Netflix series out of it and called it Stranger Things.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, you know, I was actually the sheriff on Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
The one who has
upside down guys. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. Sorry.
All right, guys. Fill me in on what was going on while I was rudely being interrupted, and it was only $15.
We only talked about pancakes, basically.
Okay. Well, this is another part. They showed up over $15 because so the price the price of the laptop was monthly, but instead of just paying like whatever the minimum was, I paid because it was like $180 or something like that, and I paid like $300, like around $300-ish, so I wouldn't have to worry about whatever the next month's payment would be.
Yeah.
I could just like pay it without worrying. So it
Yeah.
was like I paid like a month and a half instead of just 1 month. So whenever they showed up, because so much of this month was already paid for, instead of like $100 or $150 or whatever it was the payment was supposed to be, it was only $15. So it's like, and then the $15 wasn't even due yet.
Where do you like? I'm trying to process this.
Yeah.
This is worse than the time I had a laptop that I actually like slammed it closed too hard. And
this is it,
like,
guys.
burst into flames and
there's you guys.
Oh, look, there's
hey.
me. I can see myself.
And
It's amazing.
there's the $15 laptop.
Yeah, one of those spooky red keyboards.
I don't like the red LEDs. Like I hate when things look all edgy and gamerish and stuff. I want like I like yeah. Like whenever you see a gaming laptop and they're like really big and bulky and they have like edgy designs and like sharp corners and everything to make it look like a 14-year-old gamer's dream. I prefer having a laptop that's like, if you took it out in a business meeting, nobody would take a second look at it. They'd just be like, oh, that's just a normal laptop.
Yeah.
But this is not that. My old laptop, the one that broke, was like that because it just looked like a normal laptop, but this one has like edgy designs and like red LEDs and all that fun stuff. So, anyways, Spyro, he's a dragon.
Oh right.
Oh, wow, that was like 10 million years ago.
Oh, were you guys not?
Man, you missed the crepe discussion.
Michelle,
We were literally talking about pancakes.
Michelle in the chat says, "Dude, that looks like my laptop." This is an HP Omen with the i7 7700. So
Bad omen.
I don't know if you guys have an HP Omen, but that's what this is, Michelle. Yeah, mine's like that. Alienware overpriced toy works well though.
Or thinks we should get back to Spyro.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with that.
Are we done with
So
Spyro?
does, Detective Pikachu over there.
Are we
I'm
done?
My only comment is that it seems like Nintendo is hoarding all the It's like, you know what? We were the beginning. We were like one of the first mascot platformer companies. You know what? We should take all of the mascot platformers and just make them Nintendo characters.
So what you're saying is Spyro Smash. He stole it from me. Podcast over, guys.
I'm sorry.
It was a good podcast.
I don't need you guys. I'll do this podcast by myself.
Yeah. No. So
Hylian Crepes cast.
you mentioned the Amiibo. Did you see Gonda Chris, one of the guests that we had on a while back, who everyone should know for making custom Amiibo? She made one for the Commonwealth Realm guys.
Okay.
And gave
Yeah,
it to
I saw
them
that.
at PAX. It made me jealous. I
Yeah,
was
what
like,
Is a Spyro
She does a bunch
she
of
made
different
them. She made them like an actual custom Amiibo from like their avatar, their little animated avatar.
Oh, wow.
Like my avatar is like me dressed as Link in the blue tunic. Theirs is like something.
I think she usually takes like
It's-
the meat fighter amiibos and things like that
Yeah.
to the YouTuber
Well,
customizing.
the cool thing with mine, if she did one for me, she could just take one of the Link amiibos and just like paint it blue and then be like, "Here you go." And I'm like, "But that's you just painted it."
Facial hair on there and
No, oh,
You'll
this
take it
this
and
is
you'll
only
like-
here because of my laziness. I'm not actually a
you
fan.
are, Jesse. It's part of your. It's in your avatar.
Yeah.
Your
That
laziness is
was
part of you.
something. Okay, so when Nicole made the avatar, like I couldn't complain because she did it for free, but or at least the first one she did. Whenever she made it, I was super excited, and then after I started like looking at it really close, I was like, "What's that over the lip?" And I was like, "She put in the mustache and the facial hair," and I was like, "No." It was also
Guys, super chat right now. We're raising money to buy Jesse a razor. So-
yeah. Yes. All right. So final thoughts. Spyro for Smash confirmed. Daniel.
100%.
Talking about
I'd
terrible
actually,
theories.
I'd actually love that. No,
It'd be cool. Yeah.
it would be cool. I like Spyro.
Yeah, Spyro's cool. I haven't played. I mean, I guess no one has since like the third one, but I played a lot of the old ones.
I haven't touched a single Skylanders game, but those were on Nintendo consoles already, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, actually.
Oh,
You know, realistically, Spyro might actually be more of the likely include in Smash Brothers than even Crash, with that in mind.
Yeah.
I think
So, Jesse.
I want to say that like a long time after the Wii U came out, when nobody was focusing on the actual Nintendo Wii,
Yeah.
Activision with like Skylanders and then Ubisoft with Just Dance were one of the only people that were still releasing stuff for the Wii.
Yeah.
So it's like Spyro was there supporting Nintendo when no one else was.
Including Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got our
Yeah.
annual Wii U title.
That's a good point.
Nintendo.
That's a good point.
No, I was talking about the original, the Wii.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, that's a good point.
All right.
What's
So
our next piece of news?
our next piece of news is no news. Our
Yeah, there's-
next piece of news is the because there's not been any real news. So we have which list are we going with here, Daniel?
Good question. We had two. I think one was slightly trashier than the other one.
Yeah, I think it was the first one you sent seemed worse. Granted, it explicitly says they're crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's true. But I mean, there's a difference between crazy theories and just like we didn't do any research.
That crazy. When people put that in title, they don't really believe it's crazy. They just want to put something there to get people to click on it. Because if you see top 10 theories and then you see top 10 craziest theories, most people are going to want to click the craziest because it's like,
Oh,
when
those ones are crazy.
in reality they're the same. But which one are we going with?
I like the second one, but
sure, let's do it because they're almost the same. That's the thing. Dear audience, we went through a few different trashy Zelda theory lists from non-Zelda websites, and most of them have about, out of the 15 they list, they all have 15 for some reason. And out of the 15, 13 or 14 identical entries. Like,
all right, we're gonna do a new intro for this. So you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Making sure my microphone was set right. Alright. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with me for this awesome discussion on the top 15 craziest Zelda fan theories is Axel the Beast, who you all may know from
the curiosity, the Zelda Dungeon Mailbag, and now on my own channel, Mailbag.
the Axel the Beast Mailbag.
Yeah,
No.
the Axel the Beast.
The Beast Bag.
The Beast.
Call it that.
It's a Teen Titans experimental mailbag. Alright, and we also have the one, the only, the handsome Daniel.
Oh no, I'm the other Daniel.
Oh.
Not handsome one.
No, who is it?
Sorry to confuse you guys.
Who is it that people say you look like? Who's it?
Or Jared?
No, not a
Jared?
not a YouTube person. It was like an actor or
Sometimes
something.
say that I look like Andy Samberg, but I think it's
Was that it?
Yeah.
All right, we are here with Axel the Beast and Andy Sandberg.
I wish
We
I
are
was
here
Andy
with
Samberg.
Andy Sandbergerson.
Hey, there now you're talking.
All coming together. The theory connections are just lining up.
Yes, we are going
Andy
to
Samberg and Smash confirmed.
we are going to be discussing the top 15 craziest Zelda fan theories from a website called The Gamer. Now, our lists that are the most popular are the ones discussing the theories, particularly the one discussing our least favorite or the worst Zelda theories, because you guys love seeing us hate on stuff. So this time I thought, instead of hating on our own theories that we can come up with or think of, we're going to find a list from someone else and hate all on it. No, the plan was originally get a list, go through, read out the good ones, read out the bad ones, give our thoughts. Maybe Daniel and Axel would think a theory would be good, but I would think it sucks. So then we'd have a little bit of debate on why or why not it is a good theory. Alternatively, Axel could think one sucked, and then me and Daniel would be the idiots trying to say that it's a good theory.
Y'all suck.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I've noticed, all of these Zelda theories are just people going through and copying and pasting from other websites and not coming up with any ideas. Like, I made the joke before.
Like the exact thing you were looking for, though.
No, but originally, I thought we would be finding a good list with some, like, at least half of them would be good theories and then half would be bad theories. But these are just, like, maybe one is good. Some of them aren't even theories. Like, we made the joke before this that the person who made the list, it seems like they just were like, oh, like their website was like, hey, Zelda's popular, Breath of the Wild's coming out. They like Zelda theories. Let's make a list to get those people to come to our channel. And then they were like, oh, we can make a Zelda theory list. And then someone was like, I can do it. I'm a huge Zelda fan. I played half of Ocarina of Time. So then,
to be fair, I think a lot of Zelda fans haven't played every game.
yeah, but this is like, they just played through half of one. It's not even like, I don't even know.
Yeah, but
they watched the trailer for Twilight Princess.
well, it's like you said though. They came up with the list from other people, and they can't be blamed for the quality of all these theories.
Yeah,
How about just write your own article?
yeah. It's called video game journalism.
Yeah.
But Jesse and Daniel,
Who said
what
that?
are we doing then?
We're making fun of. We're not video game journalists. This is a
All right.
podcast.
So,
Point.
We're not regulated.
Daniel, this is a list of top 15 from thegamer.com. So you know they are real
Yes.
gamers. It's in
The
their
real-
title.
It says, it's not just any gamers, it's the gamer.
Hmm.
The only one.
And the interesting thing here.
Oh, you mean the guy who donated to the Patreon?
No, that's the one.
That's the one.
Yeah, get it right,
okay.
Axel.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
No, so Daniel, you will do number 15, but number 15 is kind of boring because it's more of a non-theory. So I'm going to start with 14, and then
non-theory.
yeah, and then Daniel, we're going to start with 14 because it's maybe interesting, not quite sure yet, and then we'll go to 15 for the people who are like counting through the theory list with us. So our number 15, which is number 14 on the thing, is Dark Link Origins. I can already tell this is going to be completely wrong because the quick thing here before we even get started. Almost every single version of Dark Link, Shadow Link, or whoever he may be, whatever new title they give him, almost all of them are completely different entities than the others. Like, some of them are created on the spot by Ganon. Some of them are, like, brought from a different realm or whatever. A lot of people assume that it's the exact same Dark Link every single time.
Yeah, but it makes no sense. The
Yeah.
rules are always totally different. In Adventure of Link, he's actually not even a bad guy. He's a trial by the good guys.
Yeah. So,
Same with, yeah, that's true. Actually, wait. Yeah.
Dark Link Origins, they say, this isn't a direct fan theory, but we felt it was too interesting to leave off this list. Apparently nothing was too interesting about this list. Heads up.
Also, we're on the second entry of this list.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And
We're
they're like,
at
"This
number
isn't even
14.
a fan theory."
They say it themselves.
There are many fan theories that speak to the origins of the infamous Dark Link. This shadowy entity has been seen throughout the numerous Legend of Zelda titles, sometimes appearing as a boss or sub-boss. The inner struggle and need to conquer oneself in a cliche as old as time. But Dark Link isn't viewed as a simple life lessons. Some theories speculate that the villainous shadow is the essence of Link's evil nature, brought out when the hero pulled forth the Master Sword. Others believe that Ganondorf is directly responsible for summoning Dark Link in an attempt to create a minion capable of striking down the hero of time. What?
Wait. That's actually a thing that happens. Like,
Yeah.
it just happens in Ocarina.
One of the most interesting theories states that Dark Link is actually Demise, one of the main antagonists from Skyward Sword. Upon defeat, Demise was sealed directly into the Master Sword, where his remaining form would be completely purged from existence. This theory states that perhaps Demise wasn't completely gone, and Link's evil essence mixed with the impure soul when the Master Sword was touched in Ocarina of Time.
I think Axel's eyes are gonna bulge right out of his head.
Yeah, so really quickly on this, they're trying to make, like most theories, when they talk about Dark Link, they try encompassing all of the different Dark Links as if they are their own person, or like their own single entity. But sometimes it's literally the shadow of Link, or something similar to the shadow of Link. And A Link Between Worlds, you can fight different versions of Shadow Link until
It's not necessarily part of the story
Yeah.
at all. They're just like a mini game.
yeah, but in that
Yeah.
case, they're like, I think they're part of the mini game, but I think lore wise, they have something to do with the old man, because after you beat all of the Dark Links, then you fight the old man, who a lot of
the link from A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
It's strong implied that he is.
and
Yeah.
then
And then Spirit Tracks is at the end. He's like the final boss of the Take 'Em All On challenge.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's just kind of like a mini game in the Castletown Market
Yeah.
and then
where you just fight enemies.
so yeah, there is like there's Dark Link from Ocarina of Time. There is, I think, Dark Link is the title from Zelda 2 as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
in Zelda 2, he's just Link's shadow.
Yeah, four
He
swords.
doesn't even have a name. He's just what he is. He's not Shadow. He's Link Shadow, if I recall right.
Yeah, and he's like you said earlier, more of a trial brought from
Yeah.
the old guy
So-
starting the Triforce than
Shadow Link, who isn't like the one that they call Shadow Link in the English versions, are from Four Swords Adventures, A Link Between Worlds, and Triforce Heroes. They just really quick, going from like a Zelda wiki page, says that they are like they belong to like a race of demons, so they are evil. Like Shadow Link from the Four Swords Link Between Worlds Triforce Heroes is more of like a demon-esque
It's probably just
thing.
like a doppelganger.
Yeah, and then Dark Link would be Zelda 2 and Ocarina of Time, two completely different versions. So the point is they're trying to make it seem like every Dark Link is the same Dark Link, but every single one is different. So if you have a theory like, oh, Ganondorf created Dark Link to do this, or Dark Link is really Link's internal soul, like that might be what Nintendo was going for in one of the games, but every single version is a different version. It's not like it's the same one showing up each time being like, I'm gonna get you this time.
What's ironic about it is, as bad as it is, the demise theory is the only part of that actually kind of works, because it could theoretically explain like a resurgence, because it comes from the Master Sword or whatever. The only issue is, in plenty of those games, you don't get the Master Sword, and it's a different Link, so it can't be the same. It can't be a curse tied to Link. It's a different Link, and there's no Master Sword. The Spirit Tracks being an excellent example.
Like
And
sorry.
the demise thing was supposed to explain Ganon's resurgence throughout the timeline. It's kind of it's a huge reach to think, okay, so this thing happened and it explains one thing. It already has an explanation. Maybe there's a no. It's the thing that they stated it's for is what it's for, not anything.
Yeah. So it's not one encompassing origin story. It's a different version every time, just as Link is a different version every time. Daniel, take us to number 15, which would be our 14.
All right, this one I just love that it's on here because
Another non-theory.
it's not actually a theory. It's Wind Waker. The Zora became the Rito. The article says, you'll meet many familiar faces in Wind Waker, but may notice a strange absence of fish people, except for the manfish that helps you fill out your chart. Although
Don't
the
mention
overworld,
the actual Zora we see in the game.
although the overworld is a massive sea and sailing is the main form of transportation, the Zora are nowhere to be found. One would assume that the humanoid-like water dwellers would thrive during such an event. Sadly, this is not the case, but it doesn't mean the Zora are gone and forgotten in the realm of Wind Waker. A popular fan theory that is actually just part of the game suggests that the Zora are not missing, but rather evolved into the new bird-like race known as the Rito. This theory makes a lot of sense considering what we know about the Zora from Ocarina of Time. That particular was fond of fresh water as found in rivers and lakes. The harsh salt water of the new Great Sea might have proved too much for the Zora to handle. It's also important to note that the Great Sea is teeming with dangerous disasters and malicious monsters. This list is dedicated to theories that showcase... Okay, that's a bit... Anyways, point is, like, literally, Medley, who is the sage of Earth in the Wind Waker, it is stated, her blood descendant is a Zora, who we meet in the game as a ghost. And they state outright, she says, find my blood descendant who has the same instrument as me.
Oh, yeah.
And she's got the Zora like crest. Medley has the Zora crest on her apron. And it's just it's you read Hyrule Historia and he like it's just a part of the game. It's not a fan theory at all. It's now Breath of the Wild does kind of throw a wrench in that, but as far as Wind Waker is concerned, that's canon.
Well, Breath of the Wild, the
Virgin Evolution.
the way that I view Breath of the Wild is that the Zoras in it, like, there's always been different versions of the Zora. Like, there are the River Zora, which are typically the evil Zora that you fight in, like, the more monstery looking ones. And then there are the friendly Zora. So, like, in the way that at some point they split off and became different races within the 10,000 years between Breath of the Wild and another Zelda, whatever Zelda was before it. My assumption is that just with the normal Zora and then the River Zora, like the good and the evil Zora, there were another split between the normal Zora, and then like some of them were like, hey, let's go over here and evolve, while the other Zora were just like, hey, let's stay Zora, and then that's how you get it. But then like some people think that the Zora are from a different land, so like the Zora did end up turning into the Rito, all of them, as they did in Wind Waker, but then you have Zora from like a neighboring village or whatever, because I think they're, well, I don't mean to cut you off, but really quick, Andy, or Andrew from previously of McIntyre Productions, before he gave the YouTube channel to Jack, in one of the videos that I was working on with him, he had text from in the game, like the statues that you read on the wall or whatever, that gives you like the history or the origins of the Zora. I think something mentions that the Zora did come from a different area, like they're not the Zora from
builds that Zora's domain.
So
they also talk about Princess Ruto in those documents.
But that's a bonus theory.
That's
the main
true.
thing about that, though, is that even in like real-world evolution arguments and whatnot, the argument isn't that mankind evolved from monkeys. The argument is that mankind and monkeys share an ancestor. In other words, it's a thing that evolutions can split off from the same point. There can be Zora who didn't evolve because they stayed.
Saiyans are monkeys.
Jesse, get the hell out.
But also, like, you see this happening with birds. I can't remember what type of bird it was.
Hummingbird.
But this is a real life example where two of the same birds, they had the same ancestry. One lived on like this island where they had to basically like worms and stuff, and their beaks evolved to have a different shape than the same bird that lived on a different island and was like eating nuts and had their beaks evolved to a different shape to crack nuts.
Yeah, and the thing is, the opposite is just as possible. It's convergent evolution, where two unrelated ancestries evolve almost the same features. So old world vultures and new world vultures don't come from the same line at all. But they're very similar creatures. So you could even have different Zora in the same game that have no relation, or different. You know, there's a lot of different ways it can go.
Yeah.
With that.
But this is all a theory for another time, because that's Breath of the Wild speculation, theorizing.
True.
We're talking about
this list.
This is the dumbest thing. Like this is what I call it a non-theory, because it's like they were grasping for straws.
This is the first entry that they put in there, so just imagine
that's why I skipped it.
Hardcore Zelda fan opening this up and being like, "Oh, some crazy fan theories," and then they see this like, "Okay, I'm done."
I skipped this one because it started with something that wasn't even a theory. That's why I started with 14, because my thought, someone's gonna watch this and like the first thing on the list, they're gonna be like, "That's not even a theory. Unsubscribe."
That's our point, guys watching this.
Yeah, they suck.
All right.
That's the point. These are stupid.
Axel, take us to our number 13.
Do we really have to talk about it? It's all just
do it, Axel.
No, it's not all just a dream. Stop. It's like the thing that everyone gives in every. Oh, my theory is everyone hates it when you have the "it was all just a dream."
It's actually this website is quoting, like if you look in the images, it's always via Zelda Dungeon.
No.
via
What?
YouTube, via Zelda
I
Dungeon.
thought that's just where they found the images.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
I'm pretty sure. That's just where
Oh
they
God!
All right.
Zelda Dungeons
So
are
what does this say, Axel? What does number 13 say?
Okay. This is a popular
I'm
figure
interested.
in general across many games and franchises. But it actually holds a decent amount of worth in The Legend of Zelda. You
No,
know
it
it
doesn't.
doesn't. This idea revolves around the dreamscape, saying that Link is simply fabricating all of these grandiose adventures within his mind. This seems highly unlikely, but there are a few things that support the theory. Many Legend of Zelda games feature an opening sequence in which Link is waking up in bed, which usually means you're awake. Is this a direct
None of
hint
my
that are
games start with me waking up. That's how just life starts.
It's like that's called breakfast, not.
Yeah.
Is this a direct hint that our hero is simply imagining all of his heroic deeds? It's also important to note that most games feature Link as a childlike protagonist, giving us more merit to the idea that Link is simply suffering from an overactive imagination. Or is he benefiting? This wouldn't be the first time that Nintendo infused a dream sequence into a franchise. A certain red-hatted plumber was guilty of this in Super Mario 2. And you know what the problem is?
That wasn't originally Mario. That was
Yeah,
Doki
there's
Doki
that.
Panic.
Yeah, but also, there are 2 Zelda games. Well, 1, technically. Which takes place in a dream. And that's part of the story. Do you ever have a dream that you're in 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 a dream?
So we were talking
That
about
only happened in Inception.
we were talking about ideas and concepts that we could debate. One that I could is that the dream games like Link's Awakening and Phantom Hourglass aren't really dreams because like what's his name? Who's the guy?
Lineback.
Yeah, Lineback. It's either his grandson or like his self is like an old man is in Spirit Tracks,
Yeah.
and then
Well, no, I can explain that if you want.
it fits because we're talking about dreams. So I'll make an executive decision.
Jesse, the chat says that your microphone is still out. I'm just going with I'm just delivering the message.
My microphone.
2 people. That's what 2 people in the chat said. 2 people. So it must be true.
I can see my mic.
2 of them, Jesse.
I can hear you.
I can hear you. You sound normal to me. So it must be chat doesn't agree.
I hear myself in the YouTube video as well, so whatever.
I have no idea. I don't know. Forget them. We don't need these viewers.
Refresh the page
and turn it
up. Alright. Axel. The dream.
Yeah. Oh, I read the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
No, you were going to say something.
You can explain something.
In Phantom Hourglass, it's not actually supposed to be a dream. Oh my God! I accidentally refreshed the stream and it was really loud. Anyway, it's not. It's called the World of the Ocean King. It's like an alternate dimension that is related to the Ocean King. It's like the sea he rules over, and Lineback actually comes through with Link. Presumably, that's what his wish was.
See, I love you,
That's
Axel.
why. What?
I love you.
Aww.
No, I was on. It was either Zelda Universe or Zelda. Okay, it was either Zelda Universe or Zelda Dungeons Discord, and someone was talking about like It's All a Dream, talking about Phantom Hourglass or Link's Awakening, and I was like, well, no, and I was trying to explain it, and then they were like, oh, that makes sense, because they said something about like a game being like they said something that was incorrect. I forgot what it was. I corrected them. They were like, I didn't know that. And then I did, like, they said something else, and I was like, well, that's not necessarily true either. And then that time they were talking about the thing being a dream, and I was like, but Linebeck's, like, he's in this place, and then in Link's Awakening, if you get the real ending, you see the girl, like, fly away or whatever. And I always... What?
It was clearly a reference to a Link's Awakening. But the thing is, in Link's Awakening, yes, it is a dream, but it's like magic rules where, like, it still happened. That character did kind of like have weight, and the nightmares and Link got inside.
I always look at it as like the Windfish, the Ocean King, Hylia, Yeah.
Where's Axel?
Yeah. So
There we
the
go.
There we go.
the Windfish, the Ocean King, Hylia, the three goddesses, all of these different deities and gods, like the three goddesses created Hyrule. Daniel's heard this 1,000 times, so I apologize.
No,
So
it's okay. I'll just
the
look at people
the
in
three
chat.
the three goddesses, like Hyrule never existed. The three goddesses created it. Now it exists. So if these gods and deities, the three goddesses, can create their own world and it's real, why can't these other gods and deities create their world?
Yeah.
So it's like they might exist in different realms or different areas, but they all still exist. And it's like when the Ocean King in like Link's Awakening or whatever, when he sleeps and Link is able to go there and then he wakes up and Link gets taken out of it. My idea is that the dream world, whenever he's sleeping, that's what makes the two realms or the two dimensions kind of like merge so they can connect with each other, and then when he wakes up they kind of like disappear from each other. It kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy X, if anyone's played it. Whenever, I forgot what they're called, but while they're sleeping, Tidus is taken to the future or whatever, and then when they wake up he just disappears.
Yeah.
So similar to that, like his magic is activated while he's sleeping. But anyways, let's go to our next one, because so far we have not had a good theory. It was all just a dream. No, it wasn't. So zero for 3 so far, the gamer. Number 12, Ocarina of Time, the sages are deceased. This may be the one that's closest to holding some truth, because some of them definitely are dead. Or
This is the closest one.
yeah. If you haven't played Ocarina of Time, spoilers, there's really no excuse for this. Link meets with the 7 sages who aid him in his quest to stop Ganondorf. Certain sages are tasked with overseeing temples, and all of the sages are tasked with overseeing temples. So, not some of them, even... Yeah.
Well, no, neither is true. They don't necessarily oversee it. A lot of them just go there.
Well,
Yeah.
they're tied to them. Like each
Yeah.
one is linked to... Yeah. In Raru's case, he's just kind of stuck there.
Yeah.
Like unless he's an owl.
Yeah,
He is
Yeah.
now.
how
So-
he gets out.
Tasked with overseeing temples, and Link comes in contact with these individuals during his adventures. Once a specific temple is conquered and the ally takes their place in the Chamber of Sages, there is a running theory that each of these sages meets a bitter end in their respective temple. Darunia may have fallen to the fire beast Volvagia. Volvagia? How do you guys pronounce that?
Volvagia.
Volvagia?
I always said Vivalgia, like a
Volvagia?
just sound for the G. But you know what? That was me as a kid.
So
I read it, so it's always.
if you take
could be wrong.
if you take the two words separate, Volva, which is like lava, and then Gaia, which means earth, so it means like lava, earth. But if you put them together, do the pronunciations change?
Yeah.
Volvagia. I kind of like that.
So instead of Volva Gaia, it's Volvagia, or
I think Volvagia is most likely the right way to
yeah,
pronounce it.
because like looking at it in a literal sense, I read it as Volva Gaia because it's lava and then Gaia Earth. So I don't know. Anyways, and we saw Nabooru as she was captured by Twinrova. There are other instances in which characters simply go missing. Ruto accompanies Link through the water temple, but mysteriously vanishes when she takes off to free her people. Saria and Impa are not even seen within their respective locations, but you meet them within the Chamber of Sages afterwards. It is more likely that these individuals are simply off doing other things, but it definitely creates an interesting and rather dark fan theory. Now, I have a huge, almost 20-minute long Zelda theory video on my channel that actually breaks down all of this. It has like HMK, Vortexy Gaming, CC, McIntyre, Commonwealth Realm, like tons and tons of people. I basically had each Zelda YouTube person I know read the lines for a different sage.
Right.
So like each person would be explaining how their own sage like may have died or didn't die.
Right.
But yeah, I personally, I think maybe some of them died, but not all of them. Some of them it's left vague. So, yeah, like, I think the closest would have been, like, maybe Nibiru or Darunia, because Darunia, he just goes in there with the dragon. He doesn't have the hammer. Like,
Yeah.
Volvagia died by being hit on the hammer, or hit on the head with the hammer by a Goron, which would kill anyone. So,
Not from an egg.
yeah.
In
So,
the marketplace.
so,
But maybe he just punches like a boss.
yeah, he just goes in there and, like,
He's a Goron.
grabs
so...
it with... No, so this is the thing that I
Probably.
never understood. Like, I actually... One of the scripts that I wrote, it was, like, 5 easy ways to, like... 5 huge problems that could have been simply solved or something like that. I don't exactly know what the title's going to be, but one of them is, why didn't they, like, when Ganondorf was taking over, why didn't they just go to Big Goron that's literally the size of a mountain and be like, hey, can you squash Ganondorf? Just, like, pick him up and squeeze him? Like...
He
That's,
needs those eye drops.
yeah, he can literally take, like, 3 steps. You're froze, Daniel. You're muted.
Daniel, your audio.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So, like...
I was saying, what if they went to it, Ganondorf just put magic powder in his eye, just threw it, and he's like, ah!
No, like,
That's why
his
his eyebrows-
eyes,
Maybe they did
because... No, like, Death Mountain, like, all the smoke comes. That's why his eyes are like that.
Oh, okay.
Because, like,
I was just thinking, he has a Triforce, the power, so...
Yeah, like, I think it's when you first go to Kakariko Village as an adult, like, isn't it like it shows the fire or something first coming off the mountain? Am I imagining things? Like, you see the guy on the roof in Kakariko Village, like, you see him, like, fall back or something because the mountain erupts or something happens, or is that after you beat it?
I think it's after you beat it.
and
Okay.
then it goes back to normal.
Oh, don't listen to me, guys. But yeah, what do you guys think about this?
I never do listen to you, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's actually probably the best theory so far by a lot.
On
Like,
this
a
list,
lot.
oh yeah. It's a low bar.
So far, yes, it is the best so far.
For me, like, it makes sense thematically because they have those, like, sad sequences where it seems like they're gonna live forever in the Chamber of Sages. But my first interpretation when I played the game wasn't necessarily that they had died, just that they had taken on a literally spiritual form because that's their duty. I got the "this is my duty now" kind of vibe from it, not "we died." And I feel like I feel like what kind of damages the theory is actually how the sages were portrayed in Twilight Princess, because we see them doing the same thing. They're like ghosts. They don't even seem to have bodies, and they just hang out at Arbiter's grounds. That's all they do, and they just show up. And Ganon actually kills one of them
The water
in
one.
that form, and
He-
he's gone.
He kills Rito, the water sage.
Yeah. Well,
Or-
no. This is
These aren't the same sages
Yeah,
that
they're
are
not
in the
the-
adult timeline of Ocarina of Time, because
Oh.
those sages haven't awoken, right?
Yeah, so my
the-
thought...
I assume that sage, the light sage in the Twilight Princess, is Waru.
Yeah.
And these are the original other
yeah
sages.
before. Yeah. That's
So
what I get.
my thought
Yeah.
was, like, the reason they look spiritual in
Yeah.
Twilight Princess is that over time they lose their physical body.
Right.
Right.
Or it could be we only see them in the sacred realm. So
Yeah.
maybe in the sacred realm they can keep their bodies, but then as we see Rauru take the form of the owl in Ocarina of
Yeah.
Time, maybe whenever they leave the sacred realm, they are no longer like in their physical form. You can only see them like in this like angel-like demon scary form ghost thing.
Well, even at
Also-
the end of Ocarina of Time, we see them kind of ghost their way up to Death Mountain to watch
Yeah.
Hyrule. But it's like that.
Light, sort of.
It's like that from a distance thing. They're not going back to Hyrule. They're just looking over it and like, we did a good job.
Yeah.
Done. GG. Also, Ashley
Oh.
donated $4 to the stream.
What? Which Ashley? Oh, cool Ashley.
Feltz. And she
Buy
says,
yourself a milkshake
Buy yourself
for
a
your...
milkshake for your birthday, Jesse.
No way. Thank you, Ashley.
Rock and roll.
That will be definitely used for something. Yeah, Daniel. Take us to our next.
Okay.
We can probably try to get through these faster because...
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's a funny one. Zelda, the princess, has a schizophrenic sister. So, in Twilight Princess, players encounter a unique individual in Castletown. Agatha is a young bug collector that lives on her own, and by the look of it, lives rather well. One would assume that Agatha has a rather substantial amount of money, considering her elegant clothing and graceful nature. She also rewards Link with thousands of rupees. She doesn't appear to have a job outside of her obsessive hobby, so where is she getting all of this money? Because only royalty are rich. No one else in the world can be rich. A Redditor suggests that Agatha is actually the sister of Princess Zelda. Even further, they believe she's schizophrenic. This isn't just a baseless claim either. Agatha appears to exhibit some trademark signs of schizophrenia. She truly believes that she's a monarch to a kingdom of bugs. She mistakes Link for various bug types. She always has dreamlike expressions, and she seems to suffer from social isolation.
Everyone in Twilight Princess has dreamlike expressions.
Yeah, that's just how they're animated.
Yeah, who was it? Stritch in Skyward Sword? Was he the bug guy?
Well, that's right.
So like,
Schizophrenic.
yeah.
he gives you tons of money, and he wasn't royalty.
Yeah. Beetle in Breath of the Wild, you can find gems. You can get like 20,000 rupees in one go from that guy if you sell him the right stuff. I don't think he is Zelda's schizophrenic cousin. That's for dang sure.
Well, let's face it, that would be a good plot for a Zelda game.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I like this theory. People like there are a lot of people who are 100% against Link having any kind of family or Zelda having family. It's like, Link has a brother? No, that would be stupid. Link has a sister? No, that would be stupid. Link already had a sister. Her name was Errol in Wind Waker.
And Uncle.
So it's like, there are a lot of people, yeah, but there's just so many people. It's like so quick to snap when you mention like Link having a brother or sister or Zelda having a brother or sister. They're like, no, they have to be like their own person, like they're single person, like they're a single child. It doesn't work if they have a brother. It doesn't work if they have a sister. And it's like, well, Wind Waker.
I think that a lot of Zelda fans get caught up in the idea when you say, well, what if you did this? They think you mean for like the whole series or the series moving forward. Well, no, maybe just one game, because that's how the series works anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I think this is like, I would say there's a 30% chance of this being true. Like,
I mean, she is schizophrenic, I'm sure, but why connect her to Zelda?
See, I always assumed she had like a really great inheritance.
Yeah.
that
I mean,
she got or
if
something.
we encountered her in Hyrule Castle, definitely, no question. Definitely.
But,
I like
why
her
wouldn't she live in the
more.
castle?
I like her more than Zelda in Twilight Princess. Zelda in Twilight Princess is one of my least favorite Zeldas because she seems so serious and like she seems like the stuck-up royal princess you would come to expect.
Yeah, but why wasn't that kind of cool for that game?
No.
Sure, it was #edgy.
Edgy.
The only thing that really bothers me about Agatha is that when you collect the bugs and bring it to her, you have to, like, if you've got like 10, you have to give them to her one at a time, which means like restarting the dialogue box. I wish you could just like, how many bugs will you give to her, and like select a bunch of them at once.
Jesse, you gotta hear all her creepy little poems.
No. All right,
But,
Axel,
yeah.
take us to number 10.
Okay, so the Gerudo. I actually like this one. Not.
Oh, this
completely
is
ironically.
actually like this is our first good theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gerudo became the Twilight. Number 10. The Gerudo are strangely absent in Twilight Princess, but some theories suggest they've simply changed form. Much like Zora theory, some fans believe that the Gerudo suffered a similar evolutionary fate, although this transition would appear to be something that aligns magically rather than scientifically. There are a few key elements to this theory that push it towards truth. First, we have the Mirror of Twilight, a mysterious item that serves as a gate to the Twilight Realm. This magical artifact is located within the Gerudo Desert, the homeland for the Gerudan people. Link's Twilight companion Midna also makes statements that may suggest she was once a part of the seemingly forgotten race. There is even a comment in which she states that her people's king fell due to greed. One such king was Ganondorf, the ruler of the Gerudo. This may hint that the Twilight were once the desert-dwelling race that we've seen in past releases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's the best one so far on this list, I gotta say.
I mean, my only problem with it at this point is they say that their king once fell due to greed, so it might be Ganon. Well, yeah, but they talk about that as its own history. When Nehru tells you about that, that's the whole story of the Dark Interlopers. They were a bunch of sorcerers, and that's, I think, the kind of the nail in it. I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad theory. It's definitely pretty decent, but the Dark Interlopers were sorcerers across the board before they went to the Twilight Realm.
Yeah.
I look at the
bunch of wizards, basically.
I look at it as basically the pre-version of the Yiga. It seems like we have different at different points in the timeline. You have cases where Sheikah end up being corrupted. Like Ocarina of Time gives that as the backstory for Bonga Bonga. He was like a member.
He has
like
no backstory.
What? He was the man they trapped in the well.
Not
No,
canonical.
that's speculation though.
That's
like
a
it's
theory.
not confirmed. It's a good theory.
It's a
but
good theory.
I think it is still.
Well, whether or not it was Bongo Bongo. Okay, so whether or not it was Bongo Bongo, there was the person that Shahashi.
Yeah, the professor talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentions someone with like the all-seeing eye, blah blah blah, that tried to do whatever, and then Sheikah trapped him in the bottom of the well. Right?
Maybe.
No,
at least Bongo Bongo was trapped at the bottom of the well. He mentions that the guy
He
had
used
a house
to live where
the
the
well is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of connections.
I'm gonna
nothing is
call
it's
up
not confirmed,
Miyamoto
but
later.
there's so many connections that it's likely.
I'm
it's a
gonna-
good theory.
Gonna be calling up Miyamoto later, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
To the bottom of the well.
Yeah. All right. So
A long time ago, there was a man in this very village who had an eye that said could see the truth. Now, usually you have to train your mind's eye most strenuously to actually see the truth. But this fella, no, they say he had a different way of doing things. His house stood where the well is now.
That's the one. That's
They don't
the
say
exact-
anything about him turning bad. They just say he used to live there.
Yeah.
but whenever Impa sealed him
She
in the
sealed
bottom.
a
He
monster.
says that Impa sealed Bongo Bongo at the bottom of the well, and then he breaks out, but doesn't say much else.
Theoretically, it actually has no relation to the lens of truth being down there. It's just coincidence.
Theoretically, we're all in speculation territory. So
Someone
nothing-
call up Lorulian.
But Lorulian historian will get. That guy is pretty reliable.
He'll give us like the Japanese translation, the Korean translation, the Spanish translation.
So you know what my sorry.
Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
You know what my theory is about the Gerudo disappearing?
They drank too much red potion.
I wouldn't even argue that this is what I think happened. It's just a really cool idea that I might write a fanfic about at some point, because that's really probably what it is. What was the Death Sword in Arbiter's Grounds? Why was it so like this thing sealed in the it was like sealed with charms and stuff, and it was like almost enraged when it broke out. It had like this violent, like, he was screaming at you. What if the Death Sword was like this evil ghost that killed the Gerudo?
Maybe. I always thought there was probably some conflict between Hylians and the Gerudo because at the end of the child ending of Ocarina of Time, and he's gonna murder everybody and take over. So they put Ganondorf on trial. Ganondorf at this point is still leader of the Gerudo. So politically, there's going to be a problem there, right?
Yeah.
So when they put Ganondorf to rest, either the Gerudo, or not to rest, they try to execute him, fail, seal him into the Twilight Realm. The Gerudo probably either took off and were like, "Hey, we're done, we're out of here," or they were annexed and became part of Hylian society.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, my thought is that the Gerudo. Sorry, what were you gonna say? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Daniel.
Oh no, just that was pretty much the gist of it. It was just that they basically dissolved their own political structures and were either took off and became like the Gerudo that we see in Four Swords, where they're just in small camps, or it's not Four Swords. Four Swords Adventures, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they just became a part of Hylian
Well,
society.
Four
That's actually a
Swords.
really good point because there's a bunch of dark-skinned people in Hyrule, in Twilight
Yeah.
Princess.
Four Swords Adventures. They introduce a new desert race as well.
We don't talk about that.
Like,
What were they called? I
Zuna.
don't even remember.
Yeah.
The Zuna. Zuna.
yeah, they got blue skin though.
Yeah.
But that's Capcom, not Nintendo. So
That's just
Nintendo
Capcom did good. Zelda
Nintendo
stuff.
never references much of the Capcom stuff.
Except there's some
Four Swords
good.
Adventures is actually not Capcom, believe it or not. If I recall right, I'm double checking. It doesn't matter. I'm just
Wait.
yeah, Capcom had nothing to do with it.
Daniel
Is it
got
not?
his copy of Four Swords
Yeah,
Adventures.
it's not. Capcom did Four
Because
Swords.
they did Four Swords and Minish Cap, and
Yeah. And not Four Swords Adventures.
that's you know. I think he's right, Jesse.
Is-
I am.
I think we just assumed it was Capcom because they did the other two,
Yeah.
but there's no Capcom logos anywhere on this.
Yeah, they didn't work on it.
Interesting.
Wow,
Weird.
you blew my mind today. I learned something.
Yeah. All right. So my thought on the Gerudo, the Twilight, the Sheikah is essentially a long time ago, the Twilight Realm was founded, or what it not necessarily founded, but it was used to get rid of the evil Sheikah, who some theorize became the Dark Interlopers. But then, whenever they needed to get rid of Ganondorf and the evil Gerudo, they had the Spirit Temple, which a lot of people assume was turned into the Arbiter's Grounds. But then the Arbiter's Grounds, when it's not good enough to hold the people back, like if it's a life sentence and not just, okay, we're going to put you in prison for a few years, then maybe they go back to the top of Arbiter's Grounds where they use the Mirror Twilight and everything. And the Twilight, as we know them, and Twilight Princess are a mixture of the Dark Interlopers, so the magic users that were sent there a long time ago, which would have been theoretically the evil Sheikah people, mixed with the new Gerudo who were also being sent there. Because we know, they existed before Ganondorf got there, the people in the Twilight Realm, but then Ganondorf was brought with new people that was there, and then that's when Ganondorf was like, hey, Mr. Zant man, how about I give you some of my power and you help me get out of here, and then I'll snap your neck right before I die.
Other way around. He snaps Ganondorf's neck. So, I'm confused. Wait, who's
I thought it
snapping
Zant.
neck?
Is it not
Yeah,
Zant's
Zant
neck?
snaps Ganondorf's neck. Well, kind of. He's does that thing, the neck snap thing, and then Ganondorf dies. So I always thought it was kind of
I thought it was
Zant's
before
kinda-
Ganondorf dies, he snaps Zant's neck.
No, it's the
oh
opposite.
no, I thought it was the other way where Zant was
It's yeah,
Zant-
Zant looks down on Ganon as he's dying, and Zant goes, and then Ganon seems to die.
yeah, you're out of here. You played me, son.
Alright, someone call up
This is
Al-Numa.
a sham.
No, I remember it saying that's how it goes.
Alright, Axel, take us number 9.
Super Mario Brothers 3 was a famous Hyrule play. This is one of the most entertaining. That is, you got that right. The Legend of Zelda 3 is floating around the internet. One Redditor suggests that Super Mario Bros. 3 was a famous and elaborate stage play that took Hyrule by storm. While Miyamoto has confirmed it was a stage play, there's no way to know if it's set in Hyrule. This seems like a complete shot in the dark, but there are a few key elements that make it at least plausible. There are numerous nods to the Mushroom Kingdom strewn throughout the Legend of Zelda series, although they are most prominent in the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. There are many paintings of the Mario Bros. Characters found throughout Hyrule Castle, and this Happy Mask salesman has an intricate Mario mask on his pack. I don't know if intricate's the right word, but okay.
Mario's not intricate in design in general. So.
Yeah. If you look closely at Malon, you'll notice a Bowser-like clasp adorning her neck. Isn't it a cow?
No, it is a Bowser.
Okay,
It's
whatever.
she has a Bowser face.
I think it Termina. In Termina, it is Bowser. I don't know about Ocarina of Time.
Well, if it's terminal, it's not Malon. It's. I'm looking this up.
Yep, done. Boom, found it on Google. Just Google Malon OOT. She's got a little Bowser medallion.
I think it's a cow. I'm gonna look it up.
I'm looking at it.
Could it have been changed in the 3D version?
This is like artwork.
Oh, you're right. Wow.
Was it changed in the 3D version though?
I don't know.
That might be why you're
Dang,
thinking of a cow.
I've never noticed that. I just
No, it's
assumed it was a
fine.
cow.
Nope.
It should be a cow because
It's a dinosaur
sense.
turtle, not a cow.
Yeah,
Weird. Okay.
yeah, that's the thing.
All right. Anyway.
It's weird. It's super weird.
Yeah. So with this, did you get through all of the?
Not all of it. It's the gist, though.
Okay. So
That is the gist.
basically, yeah, there are paintings of the Mario people, Super Mario 64 in Hyrule Castle. There is the mask on the mask salesman. There is Malon and Tingo. No, who is it?
Malon and Talon.
Oh, yeah.
Malon and Talon?
Well, actually, even they are just sort of like retreads of Marin and Terran from Link's Awakening, but you get my point.
True.
Yeah, but they're like one's supposed to look like Mario and the other is
Yeah.
supposed to look like Luigi, and they're both brothers as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, if this is true, you could theorize, like if this theory was confirmed to be true, you could theorize that they are the actors for Mario and Luigi.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or just such big fans.
Yeah.
They just
But there's
cosplay
also-
a lot.
Yeah, but there's also Sharp and Flat, the composer brothers.
Oh
who
yeah.
have Mario and Luigi body types and colors.
Oh yeah. So another thing is, like, Miyamoto did confirm that Mario Brothers 3 was a stage play, but I think that was more of he was just getting tired of people asking, so he's just like,
It's like,
sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
that's what we were doing the entire time. You want it? Here it is.
Sangita in the chat says Bowser is a cow. Confirmed.
I
Yeah?
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright,
Theory holds up.
Sir-
theory number 8. The single link theory. Already, nope. This theory is fairly old and gained a lot of steam prior to the release of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Once Wind Waker hit store shelves, the single link theory lost a bit of its momentum. The idea states that we are following the same link through each subsequent release, and that each Legend of Zelda title is simply another one of his many adventures. Wind Waker put a damper on this by presenting its Link as the hero of winds rather than the hero of time. Still, this hasn't stopped some people from putting new and unique spins on the single Link theory. There are some that suggest Link is perhaps the same soul reincarnated through each game. It is also suggested that both Ganondorf and Link share the same ability. Others see Link as a direct descendant of each former self. In a world filled with magic and goddesses, it's not hard to believe that Link is constantly being reborn to deal with the new and present dangers.
So what's funny is that they use Twilight Princess Link in the picture on this article,
But
when
they
Twilight
reference
Princess
Wind
is a
Waker.
game, is the game where there are the heroes. There's the hero's shade who is a different Link than the Link
Yeah.
in Twilight Princess.
I mean, people say that in like Eastern reincarnation theory that's actually a thing that happens where people will communicate with their own past lives.
Sure.
And yeah, but one, Zelda's based on European mythology more than anything else. You see the Asian stuff in there a little bit sometimes, but I feel like you don't do a story about talking to your past life unless that's what
Well,
you
it's
say it's supposed
already
to be.
confirmed that he's
Yeah.
supposed to be like his grandson or great grandson
Yeah,
or whatever.
I
So
mean,
it's
if
like,
you're gonna. I mean, okay, so not only is I'm not your ancestor, I am a reincarnation of you, and you're talking to me, and you reincarnated as your own blood.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Also-
reincarnationception.
It's saying how like this was a theory that happened prominently before Wind Waker, but even like in A Link to the Past when it was released,
Yeah.
they said, like Nintendo said publicly, this is not the same Link and Zelda in the first two games, but this takes place years before the first Zelda game with a different Link and Zelda who are the ancestors of this Link and Zelda. So it's like, even before that, it was already confirmed to be not the same Link and Zelda, even
Yeah, they
way
just
before
wanted-
Wind Waker.
Yeah, people just, it's the thing that sucks about the theory is it's like so easy to justify, and yet you get nothing from doing it. You should
Yeah.
well, they're incarnate. I'm like, I mean, you can say that.
Sure. I think they all have the trait of having what's called the spirit of the hero.
Yeah.
I think that's been said to be true. Like,
Well,
they all
even
have an
in
unbreakable
Wind
spirit,
Waker,
but-
he has to prove
Yeah.
yeah.
himself. Like, he isn't born with the power
He's
of
not
the
a prophesized
Triforce.
hero.
Yeah,
So
Although,
even then, there is
Twilight
a
Princess
link
he is.
without that.
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
take us.
It's
This is a non-theory.
we're done.
Like, we need to hurry and get through the rest of these. But
Oh,
that
yeah.
one, definitely not. That's not even a theory. That's just an idea someone had when they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
All right,
So,
Daniel,
the
number 7.
cause of the Great Flood. Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker takes place in a flooded overworld that was once the Great Kingdom of Hyrule. During the opening sequence, we're told that the gods of the world were responsible for sealing away Ganon and all of Hyrule under torrential downpour of rain. So already this article saying the game has explicitly said that the gods sealed Hyrule.
Mm-hmm.
Many players are under the assumption that the Golden Goddesses were responsible for sealing away the darkness, but YouTuber RMFH, oh hey, it's Rick, proposes that.
Wait, what? For real?
Yeah, this quotes Rick. YouTuber RMFH proposes that another set of deities
Oh, shit.
is responsible for the Great
But
Flood.
then the picture, like on the thing, it says via Zelda Dungeon.
Yeah, I think that's just where they just
Yeah, it's
stole
just
the
the
picture
picture.
from there.
That's not
Thing is,
even from
that's
Zelda Dungeon.
Oh.
That's
Yeah, that's fan art.
In
Alright.
the video, RMFH suggests that the three dragons, Eldon, Pharaoh, and Lanayru, or their spirit counterparts, are to blame for the development of the Great Sea. The three dragons, I guess, from Skyward Sword,
Yeah.
then, not the light spirits.
But they
from-
weren't invented yet, and neither were the light spirits.
See, the thing is that the light spirits. Sorry, Rick. I haven't seen the video, but the light spirits are not gods. The dragons are not gods.
I mean, they might theoretically have the power to do this. We see that in Skyward Sword, Eldon erupts a volcano, but the thing is, the game explicitly states who did it.
And it also, yeah, in Skyward Sword, Pharaoh does flood the forest region.
I mean, okay.
Sure, but it's the thing is that the game explicitly says that it's the gods that do it. So
all right. So moving on, I guess.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of
Theory-
weird that Rick
theory
came up with
debunked.
this article.
Theory. Well, he didn't come. He came up with the source the article is using.
Yeah,
All right.
no, it's
For all we know, they're horribly misquoting him.
it's possible.
Try to throw you a bone here, Rick.
All right.
Yeah.
Axel, number 6.
Breath of the Wild happens after Wind Waker. The placement of Breath of the Wild within the Zelda timeline has been bothering people ever since the game. Where are you guys going?
Sorry, just this is killing me.
The title looks and feels like it belongs somewhere towards the beginning of the time.
No, it doesn't.
With ancient artifact, we know for a fact that that's not true. That's like the one thing we know about it is that it's not at the beginning. With ancient artifacts and expansive wilderness, the running theory is that Breath of the Wild is actually placed after the events of The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. It can be difficult to pinpoint exactly where the newest Legend of Zelda tale belongs, thanks to its unique gameplay elements and massive open-world design. What?
That's not
But-
why.
Yeah, but a few mysterious items are why, incidentally, suggest that Breath of the Wild takes place in the remnants of the once flooded kingdom of Hyrule. For one, the Korok race, once the Kokiri, hasn't made an appearance in the Legend of Zelda franchise until the Wind Waker. Breath of the Wild is also features large mineral deposits of rock salt, perhaps suggesting that the area was once covered in salt water. It is also worth pointing out that the Sheikah patterns in Breath of the Wild look similar to the patterns adorning the Tower of the Gods from the Wind Waker.
Okay, but just
That
to be
actually is
similar.
interesting. To be
And
fair.
I've mentioned this in previous videos that the Tower of the Gods, the technology
Jesse,
that
you
statues in
okay?
there. Jesse died because this is so stupid. I've mentioned before that they do seem like kind of similar technology to the Sheikah technology, especially the boss, the Tower of the Gods.
Yeah.
But I was saying like, well, this is the Tower of the Gods. Who's the servant of the gods? The Sheikah. So they probably did the manpower of building it. That doesn't mean that this is rock salt. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
And not all of those even have rock salt. Rock salt's a thing!
Yeah, it's a real thing in real life. And the Koroks, the Kokiri.
Bible stories were all
Okay,
true!
let me just say really quick, promoting Breath of the Wild, Aonuma, the man who created the game and has been creating the Zelda games since Ocarina of Time. He was assistant director, producer, whatever on Ocarina of Time, and then his first that he actually made himself was Majora's Mask. So every game since then, he's in charge. This man, when asked about the connection between Breath of the Wild and the Wind Waker, he said, and this is from him, that a lot of the assets from Wind Waker were reused in Breath of the Wild just because of how easy it was for them to do so.
True.
Because
Actually, the Koroks especially, it's like they ripped the character models straight from Wind Waker into Breath of the Wild.
he said instead of creating a bunch of new models or coming up with new ideas, new designs, new concepts, since they already had HD models from Wind Waker HD, it was easy for them to just reuse a lot of stuff like they did with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And they said that, now this doesn't mean that Breath of the Wild doesn't take place like thousands of years after Wind Waker. I take what he says as it doesn't come directly after the Wind Waker, so it's not like a direct continuation. But he said that the only connection between Wind Waker HD and Breath of the Wild is in like design choices, like the story, everything else, character, like none of it has anything to do with Wind Waker aside from the looks of stuff.
What if everyone talked about what if they made a Majora's Mask style asset reuse of Breath of the Wild? What if Breath of the Wild is the asset reuse?
Yeah.
Majora's Mask.
Well, that's essentially what it is, because even before that, there's another interview where the Koroks weren't even originally in Breath of the Wild. It was going to be the Kokiri. There was going to be a Kokiri champion.
That would have been cool.
And
That would have
then-
been really
Yeah,
awesome.
but that poor kid would have been kind of outmatched by the other champions.
Yeah, he's like, I can.
He could have been like the rogue hopping around.
No, he'd
shooting,
be like, dude, look at my slingshot.
No, give him a bow, not a slingshot.
He'd be like, I'm gonna poke.
No, I think he would have had the bow because
He'd be like, I'm
they
gonna
replaced
poke
him
Ganon's
with
eye.
Rivali.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So originally the Koroks were not even in Breath of the Wild. They just happened to have had a bunch of cool stuff they could have reused from Wind Waker HD, so they replaced the Kokiri with the Koroks, and then I guess Kokiri Forest turned into Korok Forest. Instead of getting like fake pedestals laying everywhere, which we covered in a previous top 10 video for unused content in Breath of the Wild, it was originally going to be Axel, you know, A Link to the Past, the fake sword pedestals in Lost Woods?
Oh yeah,
So there would be 900 of those laying around Hyrule.
right.
As opposed to finding Koroks, you would find fake sword pedestals. And they thought finding Koroks would make more sense with the story. So,
I like that idea though. That sounds awesome.
yeah, so...
The whole
think it
game
was-
you're trying to get the Master Sword.
There's you just find 900 of them. I don't think it had the Master Sword in it. There's like a screenshot of it, and they took the pedestal, the same one from Skyward
Yeah,
Sword.
it was
and
the
just
Skyward Sword Goddess
Yeah.
pedestal.
Like, so I assume that you would have found it and then put your sword in it,
And then it would have
pulled it
disappeared.
out, and then it would vanish, and you'd get the token from it or whatever.
Yeah,
But
it's horrible.
uh,
Next theory, that while Wind Waker may come thousands of years before Breath of the Wild, it does not come directly before Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is not Wind Waker 2.
no, that's Phantom Hourglass.
That is
So-
kind of what it is mechanically, but we'll get to that another day.
Yeah, and then, like, in the same, like, the only thing that we know 100% is that Breath of the Wild takes place a long, long time after Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That's whichever timeline it is, whether it's just one, all three, none, Who knows? But Aonuma did say it does take place thousands of years after.
Yeah. So it's factually debunked.
Yeah.
All right. Gerudo reproduce through gynogenesis. Gynogenesis.
I like it the second we start talking about reproduction, they show a picture of like a little girl. It's Riju from Breath of the Wild, the only Gerudo that's a little girl.
The theory suggests the absence of Gerudian males has perplexed. What? Okay.
I like how the
absence
article made up the word Gerudan.
Yeah, the absence of Gerudan male. Okay, sorry. The absence of Gerudo male. Don't make up your own words when you don't even know what your theories are.
Nope.
Has perplexed theorists for years. Many fans have tinkered with ideas concerning the reproductive process of the Gerudian people. No, they have not. And one Redditor believes they have the definitive answer in the gynogenesis. According to Zelda lore, there are men in the Gerudo... Can we just skip this?
Yeah.
According to Zelda lore, there are men in the Gerudo race.
Mostly girls is really dominant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The thing is that with this.
Hold on. I want to finish this to see how if it gets stupider.
Okay, sure. It does, but you...
Did you read these?
I read through them. Yeah.
Okay. According to Zelda lore, there are men in the Gerudo race. That's not Zelda lore. That is true. They're just insanely rare. Approximately one is born every 100 years. If this is true, it is. The game tells us. Then how have the Gerudo managed to avoid extinction? That's where gynogenesis comes in. The process.
Husbands in Hyrule. We know this.
Of gynogenesis produces clone-like offspring.
Sure.
This is the perfect way to explain why most Gerudan women look strikingly similar to one another.
Why not?
We also know that the Gerudo often visit neighboring towns for the specific purpose of finding males to mate.
Yes.
The male DNA does not normally carry over during gyna. They're simply used as a tool to begin the birthing process, although there are extremely rare instances in which the male DNA does actively carry over, which would explain why males sometimes show up in the Gerudan bloodline. It's also worth noting that Ganondorf, who served as the king of the Gerudan people, the Gerudos, king of the Gerudos, is the correct terminology here, not king of the Gerudan people, has exceptionally pointed ears. Perhaps he was the product of a Gerudan mother and a Hylian father. Technically, all newborns would be the offspring of a Gerudan mother and a Hylian father.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Sure, but here's the thing. I don't think Ganondorf does have pointed ears.
Here's the thing.
Don't the Gerudo have pointed ears?
Yeah, but Ganondorf does not actually. If you look at, he does in I think Wind Waker, but Ocarina of Time actually distinctly draws him with rounded ears. That's not the point. What am I doing? Stop me.
I mean, it's an okay theory, but I don't think Nintendo put any thought into it. It's just, yeah, they're mostly chicks. They breed with men of other races. Sometimes there's a male. Who cares?
That's Breath of the Wild, they have fish and Hylian mating.
I mean, I do have a good friend who does biology, who is actually a biology teacher, or studied biology, forget, for some reason. On the spot, it is what it is. But she did theories about, biology. She wrote for some of them for Zelda Dungeon and things like the Gerudo, but, she has a lot of, it's interesting in-depth theory work. It's just but I doubt Nintendo thought about any of this.
Yeah. Also, I don't think the person writing this article knows how DNA works because, just because, let's say, for example, my wife and I, we have a son. That doesn't mean only my DNA carried over to him. Right?
Well, yeah, but he's describing an actual biological process where that occurs.
So the thing is, I think they're only basing this off of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Yes, but in that game, it says, that they leave town to go find mates.
Yeah, well, that's the only... For a long time, that was the only instance of the Gerudo, but it's theory, like this is just another thing where like the person didn't do any research. They were just like, hey, they're all girls. How do they have babies? They must go and get male, or maybe they just reproduce asexually.
I mean, they do say.
Well, let's move on to the next thing.
All right, Axel, I believe it is your turn.
Triforce pieces. Skip it. Skip it.
Let's see where this goes, Axel. Tell me about this.
I know that title sounds rather contradictory. How can there be 4 Triforce pieces when the word tri meaning 3 is right in the name? According to some Zelda fans, it's because the 4th Triforce piece is missing from the middle of the structure, but that doesn't explain why it's not in the name. That black hole is the perfect size to house an additional piece, and there
Axel. Now, in the original Zelda, there are only 2 Triforce pieces.
Yeah.
They're Triforce because they're triangles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is something that I'm really interested in. Is it Triforce because there are in fact 3 pieces, and even though the first game only has the 2 pieces of Triforce, the Super Canon cartoon only has the 2 Triforce pieces?
That's so canon.
Yeah. So now, is it Triforce because there are the 3 main pieces, or is it a Triforce because of the overall shape of a Triforce, like the giant triangle that they all 3 form, or is it a Triforce for each of the individual shapes? Or Triforce?
It was likely just started from triangle, but the thing is that they have retroactively changed that there are 3 Triforces. Every source states there are 3 Triforces. Saying that, you could throw in a 4th piece is actually technically true, and in fact, with the weird upside-down Triforce stuff that we keep saying now, there's even more support of it. But
Termina, low roll.
But the thing is no game has ever said, that's the case. They've said quite the opposite, that there are 3.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing where you just need... Yeah.
He said no.
Hold on, guys. Calling up Miyamoto.
Alright. So, I know a lot of people like this. Holly, who I watches this podcast a lot, she also said she kind of likes this theory.
Hi, Miyamoto.
The only
Jesse
thing that
here.
this theory is based on, though, is that in
I had a great
game,
birthday, thank you.
There's...
you're watching right now. Awesome. Yeah, we're discussing...
And that's it.
The Triforce. Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, it's called Triforce because tri means 3 and there are 3 of them? Uh-huh. Alright, thank you. Alright. Theory confirmed, guys. Triforce is called the Triforce because there are 3 pieces.
It just comes as the kind of thing that would be like they could at any time decide that this is a thing, but the thing is it's a made-up detail and there's nothing that supports in the games. There's no support for it. It's just a cool idea. And granted, it is a cool idea, especially when you think of like Demise, the anti-Triforce kind of thing. Like maybe there was a fallen, like maybe Demise was the fourth god who blah 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 was with the goddesses and he was rejected, so he was blah blah blah. You could think of it's a lot of cool ideas.
My thought, if like whenever I think of the 4th Triforce, I think of Termina and the goddess of time. That's the only thing that I could reasonably come to, but then that's not even the high roll Triforce. Now Axel's.
Hi, Axel. So, next piece of news, because we're running out of time here as well.
Yes, take the next theory. Theory debunked.
Theory, it's debunked.
Debunked.
Termina, you're gonna love this one, Jesse. Termina is in fact
purgatory.
I guess that's why you make it such a gosh darn happy place by the time you're done with it.
Yeah, that's how purgatory works, right?
All 3 of these next theories are connected.
Yes. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is easily the darkest release in the franchise. We don't mean a lack of lighting.
Do they really say that?
It really does say it. We don't mean a lack of lighting. It actually says that in the article. but rather its general theme and creepy imagery. This particular theory is part of a much larger group of ideas that all contain the centralized speculation that Link meets a terrible demise in Majora's Mask. Kind of spoilers for the other two pieces of this article, but I said, come on, guys. Termina isn't Hyrule. It's a land that exists in a completely different world. Quotation marks. There are many that accept that Termina is simply an alternate reality, but some die-hard theorists believe that this world is actually a test meant for the hero of time. Everything about the land of Termina seems a bit off.
Purgatory isn't a test.
No, that's not what
It's a punishment.
What? Why would Link be in Purgatory anyways? He's a hero.
So here's the thing to quickly disprove this and the two accompanying theories. Aonuma. Now there has been like Miyamoto has given his thoughts. Aonuma's given his thoughts. The Hyrule Encyclopedia gives its own thoughts. But I go with Aonuma, the man who created the game. I don't necessarily go with Miyamoto, the Hyrule Encyclopedia, whatever, because there are one of the sources claim that Termina was created because whenever the Skull Kid put on Majora's Mask, Termina existed. The thing is, the game itself shows you cutscenes of the Skull Kid and the two fairies before they're even aware that Majora's Mask exists. They're doing cartwheels. Yeah, they're doing cartwheels. They're like Skull Kid's crying because he doesn't have friends inside the log that it's showing in the thumbnail for this theory. So like it shows all this stuff that happens in Termina before Skull Kid gets Majora's Mask. So in Hyrule Encyclopedia, whoever the author was who wrote down Termina did not exist until Skull Kid put on Majora's Mask is full of shit.
Jesse.
Yes.
So
Which takes us to our next entry, because they're connected, really.
Oh, I want to end this with Majora's Mask 3D. There is an interview with Aonuma where he says Termina is a real physical location located next to Hyrule. That is the creator of the game. The man who created Majora's Mask says Termina is not a dream world. It is not whatever it is.
But I don't think that's not a reliable source, Jesse.
It's pretty definitive, Daniel.
It's not reliable.
Daniel.
It's not.
If it was Miyamoto, it wouldn't be very reliable. But
Miyamoto.
Yeah, that's true.
Miyamoto's the one who confirms theories just to get people to stop talking to him. He's like, yes, Mario's an actor. It's a stage play. Go away.
And I am Bowser Jr.'s. Yeah, Miyamoto said that he is Bowser Jr.'s mother, so not a reliable source.
Sweet.
In the same interview where he said Super Mario Bros. 3 is a stage play, they said, who is Bowser Jr.'s mother? And he said...
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot of sense, though.
Miyamoto is Mario's mother. All right.
Bowser
So,
Jr.'s mother.
Axel, this is you're taking this one,
Your
or
turn.
is this me?
You can do it.
I don't care.
No, wait.
I don't
Did
I'll
Axel?
take the last one. Give me the last one.
Axel.
Are you sure?
Oh, we skipped me. That's what happened.
Okay, Jesse, go ahead.
We
Go.
went Daniel to Axel. So this is my personal favorite. You're a dumbass theory, if you believe this. I never say bad words on my videos, so this lets you know how I really feel about these
Wait,
theories.
did you say a bad word, Jesse?
Yeah, I said you're a dumbass.
Oh, Jesse, you
And
said
then-
it again!
And then earlier I said the people that believe Termina isn't real are full of shit. Because the man who created the game...
That's 5 now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesse, you're banned.
Alright, so Majora's Mask,
You're banned.
demonetize. Yeah, the video's now demonetized. Nintendo's nope, can't say bad words in our videos. Majora's Mask, the 5 stages of grief. Before we get to this, I want to start out. Aonuma, before we get to the theory, Aonuma, the creator of the game, said, if you play the game with the 5 stages of grief in your mind, although it is interesting, you are playing the game wrong. The man who created the game says you are playing it wrong if you believe this theory. Because he attributes that although you can put a distinct emotion to each of the general areas, all of the areas accompany so much more than one emotion.
Yeah. And the thing is it actually does a disservice to what the theming of the game is. The game is fundamentally about friendship and helping people and like helping each other through a terrible time. That's basically what the game's thematically about.
The theory suggests, the penultimate theory on this list says, there is a rather peculiar structure to the storyline for Majora's Mask, and although it may be completely coincidental, it provides us with plenty of fuel for this creepy theory. It's a common thought among theorists that the zones within Termina are actually based off of the Kubler-Ross model. For anyone unfamiliar...
When you said the zones, Jesse, I just thought of Sonic. I'm just imagining Sonic running through, like, Southern Swamp Zone.
Yeah.
Or I guess they call it something, Poison Swamp Zone. That's
Yeah.
just Sonic running through there.
Evil Valley Zone Act 2.
Exactly. I want to see that game.
That'd be pretty cool.
For anyone unfamiliar, this model was developed to explain how individuals generally deal with grief. The proposed model features 5 unique stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. There are the types of emotions that one would generally feel after the devastating loss of a loved one or some other type of cataclysmic event. What's curious is that the zones within Termina actually mimic these stages, and the order in which you experience them in Majora's Mask is critical. During his adventures, Link will cross paths with many folk in denial, an angry king, a Goron who cannot accept his fate, a depressed mother, and a zone-filled utter acceptance. A zone-filled utter accept. Okay. Each of these locations showcases one of the 5 stages of grief and leads us to the next morbid possibility on our list. So the thing about this is, again, the owner of the game says although you can put any single emotion to any of these areas, all of the areas are designed to invoke all different sorts of emotions, not just one for each area. And he says like the people in like the theory uses the Goron for like not wanting to accept his death or whatever. Everyone doesn't accept that they're going to be dying. Like if you look at the acceptance thing, like the whole cutscene with the mayor and everyone arguing is them not accepting that the moon's going to fall.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, and then like that has anger, that has the acceptance, that has like all of the areas have all of the different emotions. It's just the people that believe this theory choose not to see the other emotions.
I mean, some might be a little stronger, but I always thought the bargaining part, which is what's attributed to the Gorons, makes no sense. Like the others, like okay, I kind of see, but that one.
There's another issue with this thing is that if at the end of the game, if we're following the Kubler-Ross model, at the end of the game we get acceptance, right?
Yeah.
The problem is that Link, the same Link who is in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, is the hero's shade, which means he had regret. That's why he's a spirit in Twilight Princess. He had regret for not being able to pass on his knowledge and not being remembered as a hero. If he had
didn't
gotten
accept anything.
acceptance, if he had overcome that at the end of Majora's Mask, there would be no hero's shade in Twilight Princess.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Daniel.
All right. So the game itself, the games that come after it, and the creator of the game all debunk this theory.
Getting so intense. He's like
Shaking his microphone. It's not a theory, guys.
All right, guys.
It's pretty fake.
WrestleMania was a disappointment last night. So I didn't
accept it.
I didn't know.
Come on,
Five
everybody.
stages.
We're is this? We're sponsored
Yeti
by
Pros,
Blue.
Everybody.
We're all sponsored by Blue here. Miss Click, pull out your Yeti. No, okay. So the thing is, the game itself, the games that come after it, the creators of the game all debunk this theory.
Yeah.
If the man who created the game says no, this isn't. If you believe this theory, you are playing the game wrong. When the man who creates the game tells you you are playing the game wrong, that debunks it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. He's not just saying, oh, that's interesting, but it's not true. No, he says you are playing it wrong.
You're
missing the point, guys.
Yeah, it's like if you're driving a car with your head next to the gas pedal and your knee is steering the car while you're upside down. You're driving the car wrong. So the people, like, it's the same thing. You're playing this game wrong. Axel, take us to our favorite.
Oh, is that the word for it? Number 1, in all our hearts and in all our rage, Link is dead in Majora's Mask. This is perhaps the most prominent of all Legend of Zelda theories.
I'm actually going to Google this to see if I can find the quote from Aonuma.
Basis of discussion on countless forum threads and fan sites. It has even inspired popular YouTuber MatPat to enshrine it in one of his game theory videos.
Who says the horrible person who popularized the theory says he doesn't even believe it.
Yeah,
True. He like outright says it's just a theory. He always stands by that. Not all of his theories are true.
It's just a
including this one.
theory. A game theory.
But the thing is, like, anytime you say anything bad about MatPat, even if it's not even actually something bad about him, just that you don't agree with one of his theories, the theorist community, they will murder you.
Here's the thing: when he came out with that video, I watch game theory periodically. I think he has interesting points, but I think he also has some very badly put together theory. But I think even he knows that. Like, I feel like it's like you said, he acknowledges this is just a theory, and he's not doing the kind of theory like this is a serious thing I'm considering for the game per se. He's including theories he doesn't even agree with. The Link is dead theory, even before, I think there was confirmation recently. I think Jesse's looking for it, that it is not true. But even before that, it's like impossible to support. There's so many things wrong with it. So I remember when I had first disappeared, I'd poked my head in a few times, and people were always and every time I did, kind of near the beginning of my disappearance, people were like, "Are you going to talk about game theories video?" And I'm like, "Oh yes, we'll be talking about that."
All right, so the one interview that I found, it's Aonuma Miyamoto sitting on a couch with Zach Scott Games, the YouTube person, who asked them straight up, "Is Link dead in Majora's Mask?" Miyamoto just kind of twiddles at his thumbs with like a weird look on his face, and Aonuma answers it and says, like, he talks about it for like a minute, but he ends it with, "It's interesting that people think that," is what he ends it with.
That's a no. That's a hard no.
That's a pretty good no.
Yeah, so Miyamoto is just like, it looks like Miyamoto literally puts his hand down like, "What?" And then
This guy really asked me.
and then Aonuma's like, it's interesting. Like, I don't think he wanted to say no, like to like tell fans like, "No, you're stupid for thinking this." He's trying to think of the nicest way to say no, it's not true. So he's like,
Which is funny because in the other case he just says you're playing the game wrong.
well, that's what he said from the previous.
For the 5 stages of grief thing, yeah. Sorry, friends. It's just not that's also okay. And again, the hero's shade. Okay, if he died in Majora's Mask,
Where did
why
all
is
that
the
armor
hero's
come
shade an
from?
adult?
Yeah, there's just so many problems with it.
Where did he get that armor from?
Okay,
Where
so
did he lose his
here,
eyeball?
this
Something
is
like that
this is
instead.
another theory. This is from a Game Informer interview. This is the interview that I was quoting earlier. So, Game Informer says,
Is this the pre-Breath of the Wild interview they did?
this is about Majora's Mask. I don't
Okay.
know. But
Go on.
this is just like a small snippet from Zelda Dungeon. But it says, Game Informer asks, "Some fans speculate that Majora's Mask is a metaphor for the stages of grief. The townsfolk are in denial of the moon falling, blah, blah, blah." We just covered all this. Aonuma says, "It's certainly true that each one of these different episodes you talked about has different emotional cast to it. One feels like it's tinged with sadness, another with anger. That certainly was intentional, but I also want to point out that it's not that each one of these episodes only has the one emotion that they are conveying. There are certainly other notes that we were trying to hit as well. And the reason we did this is always to allow the player to experience that emotion, to give them a chance to hook into the emotional tone of this scene and react to it and feel the way they want and to accomplish something in the game as a result.
Yeah.
So right there he says that while they did put each of these emotions to the different areas, they also put other emotions in the areas as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just each area is based off one emotion, it's that all the areas accompany a lot of different emotion.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's not you're not working through anger with the Deku. The game intentionally pisses you off by showing you how unreasonable the Deku are actually being, and then gives you a little like, oh, thank God, when you see his daughter bouncing on him and trying to punish him.
Yeah, okay,
It's
so
not, it doesn't end on anger.
why is Link not dead in Majora's Mask, Daniel?
Because
He's an adult in Twilight
he's
Princess.
an adult. Yes, there's
His
that.
his
and-
skeleton is an adult.
Yes.
Not like when you play Twilight Princess, it's not a little child skeleton teaching you all these moves.
No, that would be terrifying.
It is an adult skeleton. He doesn't die in Termina because his grave is in the castle.
Yep.
His body, and then
There's more attached to this theory.
he
too.
doesn't have a grandson. Like child Link at 8 years old, 9 years old cannot have a great grandson. If you being real for a second, I am very lucky to have close to 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you believe in the slightest that Link is dead in Majora's Mask, you are stupid. Please unsubscribe.
Ooh.
Come over to my channel instead. I think you're stupid too, but I accept you for who you are.
No, I understand it is an interesting thought,
No, yeah, it's cool.
Sure, it's good for like 5 minutes.
but flying is also an interesting thought. I know I can't do it. I know that no one can really fly, but people, Link in Twilight Princess is confirmed to be the great whatever grandson of Link from Ocarina of Time. Child Link, who dies in Majora's Mask, if he cannot have a great whatever grandson if he is still a 8-year-old boy, who until the events of Ocarina of Time had never even seen someone of his own race. He was there with a bunch of wood kid children people that were like half.
Maybe some crazy stuff happened after. He had all this hormone stuff going on, but he had to go defeat Ganon. But when he went back in time, he had a little free time on his hands. We don't know what happened.
You wouldn't know what to do.
Like,
You don't need to know what to do, Daniel.
That explains a lot.
no, as a joke, I was posting like troll stuff on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
It was like, you guys seen it? It was like, fact number 54: Daniel's so hot his friends need a Goron tunic to hang out with him. Axel is so ugly, Termina's moon looked away. So
there was one of them you said where you tagged me. It's like Daniel legitimately believes that Link is dead in the
oh yeah, no.
And then I put that gif of Mindy from Mindy Kaling in The Office. She says, I have a lot of questions. First of all, how dare you?
yeah. No, so when I was doing all of my troll posts, I posted something on Twitter like, does anyone still actually believe that Link is dead? Because for the longest time I was like, people just think this because it's a fun troll, it's a meme. Like, no one really believes it. They just use it as a quick troll. An easy way to, like, troll someone. But then there were people that was replying that was like, oh, yeah, I believe that, blah, blah, blah. He's dead because this fact. And it's, like, I deleted the tweet and then unfollowed the people that replied to it. Because I was so disappointed. I was just like, what?
So the thing is that when you're theorizing, there's a few different kinds of theorizing. There's just, it's a cool idea, of which this absolutely qualifies, and you can support it with the in-game stuff, not so much later stuff, although even the hero shade, you could kind of explain it away. But as soon as you're coming up with a theory that requires so many like things that aren't in the game to support it, like you have to actually come up with ideas. You're not taking them from the material. You're coming up with them. You can't say you're in the camp of theorist where you're actually arguing that's the story in the game. You just can't say that. You can't justify that thought. You can say, oh, it's a cool idea. What if they did this? It's awesome, and that's a very cool kind of theorizing too. And this is a very interesting one. It seemed like Miyamoto and Aonuma sort of agreed. They didn't want to slam this one too hard, but yeah, you can't really justify it being the story of Majora's Mask.
The interview that I read where like Miyamoto just put his face down, because it wasn't an article I read, it was an actual video. Miyamoto like put his face down like he was disappointed, and then Aonuma was the one that actually answered it, and
I flew out
that was
here
just
for
one.
that.
Like there was the second interview that we read that was from Majora's Mask. There was the interview which I was quoting. I didn't have it in front of me, but it was where Aonuma was basically like, "Hey, you're playing the game wrong," which I think was actually a different segment from that same interview.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's just like all of these different things, and people's like, oh, Termina. And then another thing is like the same people that are saying like Link's dead and Majora's Mask are the same people to say that Termina isn't real. So it's like, if Termina's not real, how does Link die in Termina? Like if Termina doesn't exist until he puts
that's
the...
actually
he dies in the Lost Woods.
Yeah, that was what I was getting at. That's actually not the entire theory. The theory is Link goes to the Lost Woods, dies there, and becomes a Stalfos. That's why he's a skeleton in Twilight Princess, which I have several problems with that. One, there is no... And this I hate. This is actually one of the worst theories in the whole franchise for me. People assume that that's the Lost Woods at the beginning of Majora's Mask. Why? There is no indication of that whatsoever.
Trees, Axel.
There is no...
There's trees. The
Okay,
Lost Woods
no,
has trees.
here's the thing. Termina... No, here... Link goes to Termina to look for Navi. Navi doesn't take off through the Lost Woods. Navi takes off
Jesse,
behind the Spirit Temple. Shh.
Jesse.
So Navi takes off through the window of the Spirit Temple. So in my head, this forest
Temple time.
is...
Not
Yeah,
Temple.
sorry. This forest is the trees and stuff that you see going directly behind the Spirit Temple. My thought is Navi runs off through the window and Link's like, oh shit, I gotta go catch this fairy. So he just runs outside the Temple of Time and then like takes off in the woods in the direction that Navi went. He doesn't go back to Kakiri Forest, go through the Lost Woods, and then do all that. He just goes through like the woods behind the Temple of Time. So
Or checks any forest in Hyrule. Did we forget that the boundary lines for most of the game are trees? That's like the generic graphic they have to separate most areas.
Yeah,
These
but
trees.
the Lost Woods has trees.
Daniel.
alright, so here five quick easy ways to know that Link is not dead in Majora's Mask. Number 1, the creators of the game said he was not.
That's not reliable.
Number 2, he did not die and become a skeleton in Majora's Mask because he is not a child skeleton in Twilight Princess. He is an adult skeleton, which means he lived to be the age of at least 20.
At least taller.
At least 3 feet taller he was.
Yeah, the thing is, they say that he became a Stalfos, and Stalfos are big. I think you're missing the euphemism, guys.
Yeah, number
Children.
number
The
3.
child exists.
Number 3, he had to live long enough to be an adult to have kids. And then his kids had to live long enough to have kids, and those kids needed... It keeps going until you get his great something grandson.
Or Dawn Woods has trees.
Number 4. What's something else that I'm missing?
The
The creators of the game said it wasn't true. Again.
that one again.
The person who popularized the theory didn't create it. He just stole credit from it and made like thousands of dollars from a video without crediting who he actually got it from. He doesn't believe. In fact, he's been on interviews saying that he can post whatever theory he wants with little to no research, and people will believe it just because he has millions of subscribers. He literally said his subscribers will believe whatever he posts because they think if he has so many followers, it has to be true. Do you want to know who else had lots of followers? Hitler.
Whoa, Godwin's
true.
law in effect here.
True, guys. It's not only Godwin's law, it's pattern recognition.
Yeah. Look at I think the one actually has a huge discussion on his channel about the theory not being correct.
Yeah, he says that the original game manual that came with the N64 cartridge says it's in an uncharted section of the Lost Woods. So maybe it actually is the Lost Woods. But here's the thing: no one I have ever discussed this theory with.
Mario's
No
manual
one I've
says the
ever
question
discussed
blocks
this theory with has
or
ever
people.
mentioned that. So that's not why they think it. So they're still wrong, even if they're right.
It
Okay.
must have been like at some point we all read it while playing the original game,
Maybe.
and that's stuck, even though we forgot where we read it.
Yeah, but they still have the wrong reason.
Now, see,
No,
the
they do.
thing
They're
is,
just trying to remember why. They can't remember why
I'm not-
they think it, so they just make something up.
I'm not salty because people believe. Like, I'm not salty or whatever because of the theory. I'm disappointed at how stupid some people can be. Like, like, you get disappointed with humanity because you're like, is this person, like, if someone is a casual fan, they watch the video and they're like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. I
But
think that is what most of
as
it is.
quickly as you, like, start doing your own research, you're like, hey, how does he have a kid if he died as a kid?
Yeah, but I just think a lot of those details don't stick in a lot of people's minds. I've talked to a lot of people who've played the games, and even you, Jesse, kind of brought this up when talking about like Phantom Hourglass. A lot of these people don't remember all the little details. That's something that we're a little obsessive about, so that's what
Yeah.
I think happens.
But, like, the thing is, like, it gets to the people that, like, they don't, even though they're only a casual fan or they may not be, like, all-knowing about the series. Like, anytime I have a question, I message Hylian because he's, like, an encyclopedia for Zelda. Like, not just theories, just, like, the actual facts. Like, you can be like, hey, what was the Japanese quote for this scene from this game? And he's like, in 10 seconds, he'll just send it to you. And it's, like, the direct translation from the Japanese text, which, like, localization sometimes text in games change, which is why a lot of people like seeing like Japanese anime as opposed to the dubbed versions. And it's the same thing, like Aonuma says that he has like direct say in what gets put in the Japanese versions of the Zelda games, whereas it's the localization teams from all of the different places. That's why in Breath of the Wild, almost everything has a completely different name. Like all of the towns, villages, and stuff in Japanese, like a lot of them are different. They quote like different games or like reference different games depending on which version. Yeah, so
There's like the one memory where Zelda, the ceremony one, and you hear in the English, like North American version, they say Zelda mentions like hero of time and the hero steeped in twilight, in the embers of twilight, something along those lines. But then in like the Japanese version, it actually references a different game, not Twilight Princess.
That's hilarious.
yeah. So like the English version references like Skyward Sword, Ocarina of Time, and Twilight Princess, where like the Japanese version references the Wind Waker instead. And then like I think someone said the German version references Link to the Past. Because they mentioned like a Dark World or something like that, which could also be taken as
could be
like Twilight Realm or something.
The Dark World.
Yeah.
The Dark World.
So it's like it's all these like they have different levels of freedom depending on how lenient Nintendo is with them. But I think that was on purpose though. Like they want it to be vague. But anyways, what's not vague is Link is not dead and Majora's Mask. So
he is alive. Link is alive theory confirmed.
All right, so let's end it with 3 quick questions. We will each take 1 question.
Okay.
I'll do
I'll have to run in like a couple minutes.
Yeah, that's why I said 3 quick questions. So everybody in the chat, I'm going to do an intro. Get your questions in the chat so we can answer them. I did not check Patreon. I apologize. But we have Patreon supporters in the chat, so go ahead and post your questions. I see Ashley, the one, a couple of other people from Patreon are in there. All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. Here with me, as always, is Daniel, and returning for the umpteenth time is Axel, the Beast, who has his own mailbag, the Curiosity Shop, which inspired this mailbag. You can go over to his channel.
We're gonna rename his channel to the Beast Bag.
The Beast Bag, yes.
What's happening?
So you can head over to his channel to have very, very similar videos to what you can find on this one, discussion, mailbag questions, all of that fun stuff. But if you would like to have your question guaranteed to be answered on this podcast, you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can submit discussion topics like the 2 hours we spent talking about the worst Zelda theories on this video, whatever top 10, top 5, whatever discussion topic you may have, as well as having your question guaranteed to be on the show, because so many people submit their questions that sometimes there are too many to get to all of them. So if you want your question guaranteed to be answered, patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can get a bunch of cool other stuff. But our first question is going to be picked by Danielle.
Okay. I like this one.
That's Daniel's twin sister,
Oh, yes.
Danielle.
I like this one. This comes from The One. On Discord, he asked,
Who is a
"What
Patreon
Zelda-"
supporter.
Yeah. What Zelda lore-related questions would you ask to either Aonuma or Miyamoto that you've always wanted to know the answer to? So let's say we're in an interview room, we get to ask both of them one question each. What would be your question?
Where does Breath of the Wild definitively take place on the timeline?
Ooh, took the good one.
Yeah, like, I would be
Yeah.
like, none of us are leaving. Like, you don't even have to say where it is. Like, just open up Hyrule Historia, hold it to his face, and just be like, point. Just pick one.
I would show them my Dragon Break video and say, "Is it?"
Yeah. Axel,
Is it?
I was trying my best to explain to Axel the other day on what a Dragon Break was.
Yeah, I figured that I got it pretty quickly at some
Yeah.
point.
You know, I'm gonna link you the video in the Skype chat, Axel.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I'm gonna do it.
It's on the YouTube channel of your ex place of work.
Ooh.
I think technically I'm still on the Nintendo Prime staff list.
No, I was talking about Axel's ex
Oh,
place of work.
it's on the
yeah.
Nintendo Prime channel, so it's.
Yeah. So, Axel, what would you ask Miyamoto
ask?
Aonuma?
Can you please make a wait? It has to be a lore-related question.
Yeah.
That's what it
Okay.
said. But if you don't want to,
You could make him ask a certain game about. Actually, I'm going to cheat. Miss Click, you are in the chat. Go ahead and put your question. We haven't had a question from you on the mailbag in a long time. So put up your question. I'll read it. But yeah, your lore-related question. Could you ask for a lore game? Like, ask them to make a game based off of a certain lore? Is that like a easy...
I would ask them just to tell me as much as they could about the demons and the Dark Tribe, because I'm still obsessed with that. I did like 3 or 4 theory videos about that leading up to and post Skyward Sword. I'm still obsessed about it. And I would actually ask them, Girahim is a black weapon with a red jewel that is wielded by the Demon King. The King of Darkness mentioned in Four Swords Adventures is the Demon King in the Japanese version. And it is wielding the Trident, which is a black weapon with a red jewel, that makes him the Demon King. Is the Trident Girahim? I want to know.
like if Girahim can take another separate form.
Here's
You already know he can. He makes
Yeah,
sabers
he
when he's a
makes
human,
swords, not
but
a,
he's
like-
a big broadsword when he's or like a
yeah,
giant.
he can create his own
Yeah.
weapons to use.
Yeah. So why wouldn't he
There's
be
no
able to
reason
change
he
shape?
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be
He's
awesome.
already a sword that can become a human person.
Yeah, and the thing
There's
is,
no reason he can't become a different type of sword.
no. So here's the thing. Like, you need the
Yeah.
Master Sword, blessed by the goddesses or whatever,
Hashtag
to
blessed.
kill, like, Demise or Ganon or whatever. But
Mhm.
it doesn't work the other way around.
Yeah.
Like, Demise, Ganondorf, whoever, doesn't need a specific weapon to kill Link.
No,
But maybe to kill Hylia or one of the other goddesses.
Well, here's the thing. Demise created all the demons. Girahim leads all the demons in his absence. Ganon clearly inherits control over the demons at some point, because that's what a lot of the Bokoblins and stuff are. Perhaps having the title of the King of Darkness or Demon King gives you the power to control the demons. Perhaps Girahim and the Trident are what gives that power to the next successor.
I like that.
Especially in the absence of the Triforce of Power. You can argue the Triforce of Power gives Ganon that power previously, but the Ganon in Four Swords Adventures is confirmed to be a different Ganon, so maybe he doesn't have that power and he needs to have the Trident's power to do it. That's what I would want to know about.
Yeah,
Girahim is a transformer.
Yeah, Girahim is a transformer.
Girahim is a transformer confirmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Okay.
Axel, did you pick your question?
Yeah, in the Discord, this one stuck out to me.
Okay.
What is the worst theory made on the Game Over Knight of Ashelda asks? What is the worst theory made on the Temple of Time? And I would say, for me, it would be Nintendo's canonical explanation is the worst theory on what happened in the Temple of Time. Because the Temple of Time exists in Skyward Sword. It's in the Lanayru Desert, which is where the Temple of Time is supposed to be in the other games. It's in the Hyrule Castle region.
Yeah.
But you know what Hyrule Historia says the Temple of Time from Ocarina of Time is?
It's the
sealed temple became the What?
Yeah.
The worst theory on the Temple of Time is the official story of the Temple of Time.
Yeah. I don't know any Temple of Time theories. Like, do people make theories?
I personally I hate and despise. I don't despise. I dislike all geography based Zelda theories.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if someone is using,
it doesn't take geography into account.
Yeah, they've literally said the reason Lake Hylia is located on a different side of the map, the reason it's a different size, the reason it looks different, the reason it has different landmarks inside of it with each game is because it would be boring. So it isn't some over thought out, contrived theory or lore based thing. The reason that Lake Hylia is here on one game and it's in another location, the reason the Temple of Time is in one place, but then it's like somewhere else, a different. The Temple of Time may be a different thing, but it's basic. It comes down to not some overarching, thought out, clever lore they created. It's so that the game won't be boring. Their answer, Nintendo's real world answer, is we don't want it boring. That's why everything's not in the same place every time.
And Nintendo's ridiculous explanation of the history of the Temple of Time functions as the ultimate proof.
All right.
Okay. One more question.
All right. Our last question comes from Miss Click Gaming, who has been playing Fortnite with me, so thank you. I'm addicted to Fortnite now.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna ruin all the schools.
Yeah.
Take you to Fortnite rehab.
RJ, he, Miss Click, and Cece have all been very critical in me becoming addicted to Fortnite. But Miss Click's question is... Axel, you go ahead and read it.
Where is it?
The YouTube live chat. Since you are the guest, you can read the final question.
Okay,
Miss Clickety.
Gaming. Jesse, at what point in the timeline do you really think the peak of Sheikah technology is? We know of the age of prosperity, but does that coincide?
I think it's actually pre-Skyward Sword, with the ancient robots.
Yeah.
I think that's also Sheikah technology that had hit a height. But the thing is, I think what makes it better than the Sheikah technology we see in Breath of the Wild is that the ancient robots they have like AI, they have personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're like intelligent and sentient.
It's
whereas the Guardians and stuff are autonomous but not sentient.
The divine beasts are implied to have actual relation. I mean, it's kind of like vague because it could just be like how people talk to their cars or something.
That's
but
kind of how I thought it was.
But it also seems really heartfelt when the champions are talking to their divine beasts after you defeat each of the dungeons. It feels like there is a consciousness, and only the champions can talk to them because they're the.
Sure, but then think about it technology-wise, to have a giant thing.
So the era of
huge
prosperity.
thing that has
Good point.
thing versus like a robot that's half Link's height to
That's a
have
good point.
personality.
The
What seems more advanced?
I had to look this up, but the era of prosperity is between like Skyward Sword and Ocarina of Time, like where the Minish and everything.
Oh right.
So
Yeah, I don't think there was much technology to be had there.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite it being called prosperity.
well, there were like the thousands or however many years between Skyward Sword where they could have like reconnected with all of the past like rediscovering all of this ancient technology
Yeah.
from previous Skyward Sword. But then by the time Minish Cap happens, it's like there is none of that.
Yeah, I feel like.
So
it was
maybe they were like technology's evil, like they were one of those civilizations. So they just like killed all the robots.
Kill the robots.
Yeah, they could have been afraid of the technology. Like why is it
Wait, this-
warning me my batteries are dying? I'd want our batteries.
No.
What is this?
That's true. Also, Phi was like kind of created by Phi the Fopum. Was kind of created by Hylia. She's
Yeah.
kind of implied to be technology as well in her own sense, but
Yeah, that's what I never understood. Is like Girahim was just a normal
Fabulous.
character. No, like Girahim was a normal character. Phi was more of like an artificial robot-esque personality. Like she even talked robotically, but Girahim was just yeah. What were you saying, Axel?
It's because Girahim loved life and he liked doing stuff, and Phi was like sealed away her whole life, and she didn't even know what people were like.
She's like, God, you're such a square, Phi.
we don't know. Like when Girahim was created, he might have been the same.
Yeah.
And because we see that Phi starts to understand emotions and stuff
Yeah.
by the end of the game. So
Girahim-
it could be that he started that way and he's just started learning more and more and just started developing this fabulous personality.
He's like,
He's been
man,
running
you've
around
never
the
lived
whole
until
time."
you've had a milkshake.
Yeah. It's like he had a taste and he's like, damn, it's good to be alive.
She
Yeah.
also knew that her fate was to like become a sword forever, and
Yeah.
he, I think, loved. I mean, he was for. I think he wanted that too. Actually, he
You
loved
see, he
it.
kind of
when-
enjoys it.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of a masochist.
but I
He's
think
just
that.
a masochist.
Yeah, but I think that he has been around so long, he doesn't have a choice but to have a personality. He never settled into that role.
Breath of the Wild, Miss Click says, are we limiting the timeline to 10,000 years then? Breath of the Wild mentions the occurrence to 10,000 years before with the first beasts. That puts a cap on the spacing. No, I look at, personally, I'm using Twilight Princess as a reference point of the timeline. So Breath of the Wild talks about 10,000 years previously they had their fight with Ganon, which is when the Divine Beasts were first made. My thought, that has to happen after Twilight Princess, after Wind Waker, like after those periods of time. So there is a game, like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, whatever happens, there's a game that it skips where Ganon comes back. He's stopped by the Divine Beasts. 10,000 years after that, Breath of the Wild happens.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think you were taking it as I was saying that the entire timeline takes place between the 10,000 years gap. Like, the Divine Beasts are created, all of the games happen, and then Breath of the Wild happens. So, like, it's all within that. That's not. That can't be possible because Ganon doesn't show up until Ocarina of Time. So, at the very least, it would have to be some time after Ocarina of Time that the 10,000 years begins. But I could see Divine Beast-esque type things being created around the same time as like the sentient beings from Skyward Sword. Because like even in Skyward Sword, which is the first on the timeline, there is all the ancient technology. Like one of the dungeons is literally called the Ancient Cistern. And it's like, how is it ancient if this is the first in the timeline? But that gives you thoughts that like, yeah, there's like thousands of years that takes place before Skyward Sword. So like, who knows? There's like an entire timeline existing before that.
Anyways, Jesse, I gotta run.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the end. So the most scientifically advanced for me would be the era of peace before Skyward Sword, where they, that like they have tablets in Breath of the Wild, but
Yeah.
I'd rather have
Robots, man.
robots.
Robots.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Daniel, for joining. Thank you, Axel, for joining.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And
Peace
we're out.
out.
I really got.
Take care, man.